The protagonist talks about his unremarkable appearance, average abilities, and the fact that he is never noticed in a crowd. He ponders his future life after university, assuming that he will have a routine 9-to-5 job. A girl named Chu Jian is introduced, smart, athletic, gentle, and understanding, admired by everyone. The protagonist notes that Chu, as the heir to the family, will inherit the family business, and between them there are like parallel lines that do not intersect. Chu happily invites the hero to have lunch together, bringing milk and bread. He refuses, citing his busy schedule and numerous affairs, upsetting the girl. Chu suggests meeting tomorrow, but the hero again refuses, believing that he must make the best choice for her. An upset Chu asks if he is avoiding her because she showed too much emotion or was too clingy. She admits that she is afraid of losing him, and therefore decided to make a frank confession. The hero remembers that they used to get along well, but after the confession their relationship changed. The brother calls the hero to look out the window, but he is busy playing on the tablet and does not want to be distracted. The hero is still distracted and asks in surprise what is happening at the window. He and his brother look out the window and are shocked to see a girl lighting candles in the yard. A glowing message made of candles appears on the street with a confession, which causes delight among the heroes. The hero is surprised that the girl he recently met arranged such a surprise for him. Meanwhile, her friend tells Chu Jian that she is the best and most beautiful girl in the university, and asks how she feels about the attention from others. Chu Jian thoughtfully asks if her actions will cause problems for the hero. A friend convinces Chu Jian that she is the most talented and beautiful, but Chu is still worried about the hero's possible problems. The friend wonders why Chu didn't think about the possible difficulties earlier, and Chu admits with a smile that she simply didn't think about it. A friend decides to push Chu to take decisive action and tells her that she saw the hero in the library with other girls to motivate her. Chu Jian decides to confess for the sake of the younger one and says that he will do it. Chu Jian loudly confesses his love and invites the hero to be together. The hero's brothers are surprised and discuss that he was actually able to arouse feelings in the older one. The hero, presented in the form of a cat, runs away from his brothers and says that this is impossible for him and the eldest. The hero covers himself with a blanket and asks not to disturb his sleep, but his friends try to wake him up. One of the brothers tells the hero about the confession of the elder one below, and the hero reflects that he has no answer for her. The brothers are amazed at his luck and make fun of him, and one of them says that the third brother must always have problems. The hero in the blanket thinks that the eldest is feeling very awkward right now. He thinks that he is not suitable for the elder, because the elder Gao Yang is the most suitable for her. In the library, the hero notices Gao Yang and hears that he is the student council president and the most handsome guy at the university. A tall guy with long blonde hair approaches the main character in the library and introduces himself as Gao Yang. Gao Yang asks those around him to be quiet, reminding them that this is a library. Gao Yang tells the hero not to be nervous, and Shu Fei admits that he came here because of Chu Jian. The hero sheepishly explains that he met Chu Jian only recently, and there is nothing serious between them. Gao Yang calmly says that he is Chu Jian's future husband, which shocks the hero. Gao Yang says that when they were young, the families had already married, but Chu Jian always refused. But he is not going to give up and hopes for Shu Fei's support. The protagonist is at a loss and cannot answer, and in the meantime, it is explained that Chu Jian was chosen by her father as the heir to the family. Chu's father determines that she needs a husband to help run the company, but only if Chu truly loves him. Gao Yang tells Shu Fei that if Chu Jian were an ordinary girl, she could fall in love with anyone she wanted, but now she is responsible for the company. Gao Yang warns that one careless move could lead to the collapse of Chu Jian's future, showing the seriousness of the situation. Gao Yang, with an icy smile, wonders if love can help Chu Jian manage money and survive in business if serious problems arise. He asks threateningly if her loser husband will lead her to death. Chu Jian thought softly that she would wait for the younger one to accept her, realizing that she had confessed too abruptly last time. The main character remembers a previous conversation through the glass, tries to explain, but hears in response that everything is fine. Chu Jian lets the hero go with a slight sadness, saying that if he has things to do, he can go, and tomorrow she will buy him milk again. The hero walks down the corridor, sighing and thinking about the relationship. He suddenly runs into Gao Yang, who turns towards him demonstratively. The hero greets Gao Yang with a nervous smile. In the spacious hall, another girl is surprised by the coincidence and says that she did not expect to meet the hero here. Gao Yang confidently leads the hero in front of a group of people. The main character confidently states that he never thought about the older one, and there is nothing between them. Two characters discuss how his words were not taken seriously last time. Gao Yang punches the hero in the face with force. The hero lies on the ground, beaten and bleeding, trying to explain that his elder misunderstood him. Gao Yang clenched his fist and mockingly said that only a fool would believe that there was nothing between them. He shouts that Chu Jian is not a girl that can be touched by someone like the hero, and strikes again. The protagonist flies away from the impact with a scream, breaking the fence on the roof of the building. The hero falls into the unknown, pierced by an energy vortex and screaming in fear. A huge flash and explosion illuminates the sky where it falls. The hero comes to at the bottom of the crater in different clothes and utters a confused hoot. The hero comes to, feeling pain, and is surprised to notice that after falling from such a height, he remained unharmed. He notices rare reishi mushrooms near a tree and is surprised by their presence. Looking around, he wonders why there are so many rare materials around. The hero wonders if he has ended up in heaven because there are so many mushrooms here, although he expected to meet angels. A woman with a child passes by and wonders why he is happy about the poisonous mushrooms. The hero finds out that the mushrooms are considered poisonous and hears that every year some scientists here go crazy. He reasons that he cannot be wrong because he studied with the masters of Chinese medicine, and he is convinced that this is indeed the reishi mushroom. The hero notices that the mother and child were dressed in ancient clothes and begins to suspect that he has entered another world. Thinking, he compares how he feels and the appearance of his body, but does not notice any changes. Suddenly, a horse appears, which further emphasizes the unusualness and antiquity of this world. A girl with red hair rushes on a wounded horse, screaming in fear, and a young man reacts with fear as he approaches. The horse falls to the ground in a cloud of dust, and the guy in the blue robe notices the injured girl and ponders the situation. A girl with red hair lies unconscious on the grass, struck by an arrow. The guy examines her and determines that she has received a chest wound that could potentially be poisoned. The young man grabs the arrow and pulls it out of the girl's chest. From the girl's wound, magical glowing energy bursts out in the form of golden lines and a butterfly. The young man is surprised when the golden glow of the butterfly envelops him as well. Night falls, and the guy decides that the most important thing now is to heal the girl's wound. The girl comes to her senses near a fire and asks for water, lying next to a guy in the forest. The guy smiles and tells the girl that she is finally awake. The girl slowly comes to her senses and opens her eyes, seeing a guy in front of her. The guy smiles and offers her a drink of hot water, holding the steaming bowl next to her face. The girl with red hair rises with difficulty and looks at the guy defiantly despite her injury. The guy warns her that she better not get up, as she is injured. The guy introduces himself by name and asks the girl's name. The guy laughs and says that their meeting is fate. The girl grabs her sword sternly, her eyes flashing with anger, and the guy is surprised by her reaction. The girl with the sword attacks, performing a quick kick towards the guy. The guy insists that he wasn't making fun of her and justifies himself by asking if calling her a beauty was really a mockery. The girl sternly asks if he still dares to talk, menacingly hinting that he wants to die. And the guy, frightened, declares that she is behaving too ungratefully because he just saved her life. The girl threatens that if you dare to call her that again, you will seek your own death. And the guy, in a panic, asks not to take revenge for the good because he just saved her life. She asks in surprise if he bandaged her wound. The guy calmly answers, "Otherwise what?" And the girl asks if this means that he is her benefactor. The girl says that if he really saved her, then her family will definitely thank him and invites him to ask for anything. She can do anything. The guy happily asks if she can really do everything. He dreamily invites her to help him become emperor and conquer the world together, sharing the glory between them. The girl furiously accuses the boy of wanting to start a rebellion, threatening him with her sword again. The guy jokes back, reminding her of her words, and the girl irritably advises him to be careful with his jokes, otherwise he might pay with his head. He admits that he is not from here, has just arrived, and does not understand the local rules, and then asks where they are, to which the girl replies that it is the state of Dayan. The guy is surprised, not understanding whether such a dynasty exists on Earth, and thinks that perhaps he ended up in another world, and decides to find out more by talking to the girl. The guy introduces himself as Shu Fei and admits that he doesn't know how to address the girl, and she arrogantly calls herself Huangfu Shengnan, Margravan of Baizhou, of the Dayan state. The guy asks in surprise whether girls can be Margravines. The girl is indignant, asking if a woman can't defend her homeland, and the guy quickly replies that he admires her. Huangfu Shengnan says that her family is one of the 3 top officials in the empire and has a high position. Most of his requests can be fulfilled by her family, and Shufei promises to be polite. The guy thinks that if she has such a strong circle, he doesn't have to be especially polite, and thinks about the possible benefits of getting to know her. The girl suddenly notices that her chest armor is missing and in shock, asks where it is. She screams in horror about her chest armor, and the guy explains that he took it off to help her after she was wounded by an arrow. Huangfu Shengnan blushes and accuses the guy of removing her armor without permission, and he justifies himself by saying that she was unconscious and in a critical condition. The girl says it's outrageous, and the guy defends himself by saying he was just bandaging her wound and had no evil intentions at all. Huangfu Shengnan notices something strange on her body, and the guy, looking at her with confusion, asks if something unusual happened to her body. The guy is surprised that the girl was able to ride a horse with such a serious wound and recover quickly. The girl suspiciously asks if he touched her breasts, scolds him, and angrily draws her sword. The girl angrily rushes after the guy with a sword, and he runs away in panic, asking if she really wants to kill him. The guy stops in horror and is outraged that she is going to kill him just for touching him, justifying himself by saying that he touched her chest to heal her. The girl unexpectedly agrees that this is true and admits that she has not paid attention to the difference between men and women for a long time, so she would not kill anyone for this, since she served in the army for 8 years. The guy indignantly reminds her that she has already attacked him with a sword 3 times for different reasons. The girl seriously explains that the first time was for rudeness during the meeting, the second time was for arrogant behavior. She blushes and declares that she attacked him for the 3rd time because he touched her birthmark. The girl explains that the birthmark with a phoenix on the chest of girls of the Huangfu clan disappears if a man touches it. The guy is surprised to admit that it really does seem like it, and wonders what this magical birthmark is and how it works. The girl explains that girls from the Huangfu family are always faithful and honest. The birthmark is in a secluded place and should not be touched by strangers, and if this happens, then you need to marry this person. The guy, shocked, asks again how a birthmark can determine one's fate for life, advises her to give up such a custom, and asks what if her father or brother accidentally touches the mark. She explains that a birthmark only disappears if someone else touches it, and in the Huangfu family, there are no strict rules. Everyone keeps their cool. The guy tells her not to take such traditions to heart, while secretly rejoicing that he won't have to get married, because although she's beautiful, she's too lively. The girl asks him in a reserved manner if he really doesn't want to take her as his wife, and the guy justifies himself by saying that he simply feels unworthy of such a girl. She says that if he doesn't want to marry her, then she has another solution. The girl adds that if a stranger touches the stain, the only option left besides marriage is to execute that person, because Huangfu's daughter has no right to lose her innocence. The guy smiles and assures that the Huangfu family will not harm their daughter, and advises not to decide such serious issues in the heat of the moment, adding that after a murder, a birthmark returns to its place. The guy reminds her that he just saved her life and hasn't yet returned his debt. The girl coldly declares that regardless of the situation, she will have to thank him only in the next life, but notes that only out of gratitude does she give him a chance, because she would have already killed another. The girl with a gloomy look offers to talk about marriage, and the guy in the fox costume obediently agrees and calls her his wife. The guy, thinking nervously, decides that if it comes down to it, he agrees to the marriage. The girl irritably explains that until they get married, there is no need to call her wife, and tells him to address her by her first name, to which the guy immediately agrees. She explains that before, girls from the Huangfu family were allowed to marry outsiders, but now he will have to join her family. The guy reflects that as a young man with modern views, he is not against being supported by his wife, and acknowledges his unexpected luck. He clarifies that if he suddenly doesn't want to be a son-in-law, they can kill him, and the girl seriously confirms this with her gaze. The girl, with a completely serious face, answers that she really can, and the guy understands that he has no choice. The guy laughs happily that he was lucky to get married, and the girl clarifies that she could have killed him, but decided to get married out of gratitude for saving her life. Huangfu Shengnan solemnly declares that from now on, he is a man of her family, and as long as he relies on her family, no one will dare to offend him. The girl admires a beautiful flower with an admiring smile, and the guy watches her in surprise. A girl with red hair looks at unfamiliar flowers in the garden, and a young man in a hat watches her and thinks. The man looks into the distance with interest, while horsemen with red flags rush towards them, causing their surprise. The soldiers surround the couple and joyfully shout out that they are glad to see Master Hao. The woman confidently declares that generals should not be too polite, causing shock to the man in the hat. The army commander comes out to the loving couple, apologizing for the sudden attack of the two armies. The woman asks to thank her fiancé for saving her life, otherwise she would be dead. The army commander reacts with shock, loudly expressing his surprise that the girl has a fiancé. The girl confirms that her fiancé is Shu Fei, and he modestly introduces himself and adds that he is half a doctor. Shu Fei greets everyone present with a wide smile and waves his hand. The military expresses gratitude to Shu Fei for saving the girl's life. The sun sets over the forest, and a carriage with accompanying riders moves along the road, one of whom wishes good luck and meets Shu Fei along the way. The rider curiously asks how Shu Fei won the girl's heart, and he replies that she was impressed by his character and strength. The second interlocutor jokingly reproaches Shu Fei that he has no outstanding qualities, that he can't even ride a horse, and wonders what kind of strength he's talking about. Shu Fei, who actually does not know how to ride, falls from his horse, and a soldier nearby asks him not to move. The warrior looks at Shu Fei with suspicion and wonders why Master Hu chose such a weak guy. Shu Fei, making excuses, exclaims irritably that Huang Fu was impressed by his strength, and the interlocutor talks about his family's mastery of martial arts and their place in the top 3 in the world. Shu Fei reacts with surprise to the announcement of the top 3. He is amazed to think that Huang Fu Shenan was so strong. The man, now in a more friendly tone, offers to exchange experiences if Shu Fei is really that powerful. During the conversation, he confirms that when they met, Shu Fei withstood 3 of his blows, which surprises the girl. The warrior admires Shu Fei and asks for forgiveness for his words, and he replies that everything is fine. Shu Fei wonders why Huang Fu Shengnan agreed with his words, and whether she really wants him to be her husband. The town is discussing who arrived in the carriage, and they say that it is Lord Huang Fu's fiancé, causing surprise and rumors among the townspeople. Inside the carriage, the girl supports Shu Fei, saying that he will still learn to ride a horse, and advises him not to pay attention to other people's opinions. In the Eastern Palace, a man angrily yells at his subordinates for not finding information about the groom, considering it useless. The enraged man, introduced as Prince Zhao Zhen, demands to know everything about his rival by any means necessary, wondering how he dared to take his woman away from him. Shu Fei and Huang Fu Shengnan arrive at the big house, and Fei is surprised by her nobility. The girl says that she will be busy, so she asks Huang Qi to accompany Shu Fei on vacation. Fei thanks her. Shu Fei asks Huang Qi if the marquise is always so busy, and he is surprised that Fei did not know this. Huang Qi explains that the Margravine has a lot of work to do and is rarely at home, and adds that the attack was carried out by one of the marquise's people because she had to leave to investigate an important matter after the meeting at the palace. Shu Fei is surprised that the marquise was attacked by her own people, but the interlocutor advises to wait for the explanation of the Lord herself, because Huang Fu has an extensive family tree. Huang Qi introduces Shu Fei as the marquise's husband and tells the servants to obey him from now on, and the women greet him. Shu Fei is surprised by the number of servants and jokingly talks about the world of wealth while enjoying this situation. Night falls, and Shu Fei is glad to have some alone time, but he is cold. The bathwater is ready. After Huang Qi left, the servant's attitude became hostile, and Shu Fei felt that everything around him had changed rapidly. While taking a bath, Shu Fei wonders if he is exaggerating his worries. Suddenly, a girl enters his room, announcing that she has come to serve him, and he is embarrassed. The girl begins to undress and tells Shu Fei that she is willing to rub his shoulders after a long day, leaving him shocked. Shu Fei is at a loss and demands that the girl behave decently and mentions the need to discuss etiquette. The girl, already in the bath next to him, is surprised by his innocence, and he is completely at a loss from embarrassment. A guy in a bathtub panics and asks a girl to leave, and she wonders why he is so afraid if they are alone here. The guy declares that he is a seriously educated person, and the girl replies that since she is already naked, it doesn't matter. The girl suddenly starts screaming loudly and jokingly accuses the guy of trying to rape her, sending him into a state of shock. The servants burst into the room, shouting and indignant upon hearing the accusations. The servants accuse the guy of inappropriate behavior, worrying about the honor of the marquise. The elder demands that the boy be put in the barn and wait for the decision of the marquise herself on what to do next. The guy, furious and confused, asks what's going on, and the girl looks at him with a sly smile. The boy is thrown into a small barn by force, punishing him for something he is not guilty of. Battered and tired, he realizes that he has indeed been set up. Sitting alone in a dark room, he wonders with despair whether he is destined to stay there forever. Shufei grabs the iron bars of his cell window and sarcastically admires their beauty. He notices that there are 2 guards sitting outside his cell, and realizes that escaping will not be easy. Shufei regrets becoming a son-in-law, because if he had known about such developments, he would not have gotten involved in it. He lies on the straw in the barn and gloomily thinks that all that remains for him is to sleep and die of boredom. It's night outside the barn window. The guards are falling asleep. Everything around is calm and quiet. One of the guards becomes alerted by the noise, but the second replies that he heard nothing. At that moment, a golden energy vortex appears over the barn. A mystical portal appears high in the sky, and a beam of light shoots down, striking the courtyard. In a spacious courtyard, a man sweeps leaves, not paying attention to the square glowing with energy. In the forest, the same man with a broom watches indifferently as a bright blue beam of light lands nearby. The man looks at the emerging fog with boredom and asks what is happening, and at this time someone appears in the grass nearby and snores loudly. The elderly man looks on tiredly and wonders why some students sleep during class. A man approaches a young man lying on the ground and tells him to get up immediately, as this is no place to sleep. A young man with black hair and glasses wakes up and opens his eyes wide in confusion. Sitting on the grass, the young man asks the man who works as a janitor at the school if he too ended up in another world. The shocked young man realizes that he is near the school again, and the man reflects on modern youth. The young man comes to the conclusion that everything that happened was a dream. The young man asks the man how long he had been sleeping there, and he replies that he'd just found him. The man notices something strange in the young man's pocket and asks what it is. 2 guys meet a young man at the door and ask him about his night, assuming that a relationship could develop, but he answers negatively. The young man, confused, tells his friends that he is going to get some sleep, and they discuss his proposed sleepover with the older woman. The boy turns away from his 2 friends and says he's going to bed. The friends discuss how tired their 3rd brother is, envy him and leave, and the guy asks to bring him some food. Lying on the bed, the guy wonders if his adventure in another world was real and remembers the dangers he experienced there. He looks at the ginseng, which serves as confirmation for him of what happened. The guy dreams about an older girl, wondering what she is doing now. He gathers his resolve, remembering his experiences between life and death, and calls his elder to confess his feelings. During the conversation, he is surprised by unexpected news and hears the girl's excited voice about her grandfather. He jumps out of bed and shouts into the phone for her not to cry, asking what happened to her grandfather. The girl, with tears in her eyes, reports that her grandfather was admitted to the intensive care unit yesterday due to a seizure. The guy, excited, asks which hospital she is in and promises to come to support her. A girl with blue hair sits on a bench and says that she likes the kindness of her interlocutor, but she must forget about their relationship because of her brother's sensitivity. She talks on the phone and, holding back tears, thanks him, saying that seeing her family would be too hard for the other person. The guy is surprised to realize that the girl understands his hesitation to meet her family and thinks that she knows him better than he does. They say on the phone that artificially grown ginseng is not suitable. 2 women, one in a business suit and one in a dress, task a man with finding naturally grown ginseng within a week at any cost. The guy looks at the ginseng lying on the bed and thoughtfully repeats its name. The girl assures him over the phone that she will look after her grandfather and wait until her brother gathers his courage. The guy asks again on the phone if he really needs freshly picked ginseng. The girl replies that she definitely has one, assembled no more than a week ago. The girl enthusiastically tells her mother that her younger brother has some freshly picked ginseng on hand. The woman with blue hair asks the girl what family this guy is from and where he got the ginseng. A guy sitting on his bed and talking on the phone reflects on how he always knew how his sister's family would treat him, so he tries to avoid them. A girl with pigtails emotionally explains to her mother that the guy is very sensitive and always keeps his word. The girl resolutely tells her mother that she has confessed her love to the guy more than once, and even says that she will have children with the younger one, and he has been afraid of this for a long time. The mother is outraged and demands an explanation of what the guy did to her daughter, outraged by the boldness of such words. The girl happily says on the way that she will ask the driver to pick up the guy at school. The mother angrily declares that she will never allow anyone who is not a relative to come here. A boy standing on the street decides that despite his family's reluctance to see him, his grandfather's life is more important and he must go. The guy is surprised when he is addressed by name and sees a car, the driver of which invites him to get in. The guy gets into the car, and the driver says that their miss mentions him a lot, to which the guy replies that he understands. The driver says that not only he, but all of Miss Chu's household servants have seen the young man's photos and are waiting for him to come to the house because they are afraid that they do not know him personally. The guy realizes with slight embarrassment that his sister went to great lengths for him. He thinks about his feelings, feeling inner excitement. He is surprised to see the huge hospital that belongs to Sister Chu's family and notes that he never expected such a level of wealth. A cheerful girl with pigtails meets the hero and joyfully greets him at the entrance to the hospital. The guy gives Sister Chu a box of ginseng, and she asks him not to give it to her on the street. She invites him inside, wanting everyone to know that it was the younger one who saved her grandfather, and the boy explains his caution by saying that it is wild ginseng. The girl smiles and says that she never doubted the words of the younger one, and if the ginseng turns out to be artificial, then he was simply mistaken. The guy hugs his sister with tenderness and gratitude, showing his feelings. The girl is surprised and thinks to herself that she did not expect such initiative from him. The hero hugs the girl with blue hair and says that he always wants to be near her and will do everything for her as long as she loves him. The girl in his arms gently asks if he experienced something yesterday that she doesn't know about. The guy is surprised to himself, suspecting that she knows about his transition to another world. The girl smiles, admitting that otherwise he would not have changed and become so mature in such a short time. The hero laughs it off in embarrassment, and the girl begins to tell what happened yesterday. At this moment, the girl's mother appears, sharply demanding that her daughter be released. The guy stutters and introduces himself, and the girl announces to her mother that Shu Fei is her boyfriend and that she will be living with him after graduating from university. The mother angrily declares that her daughter has no right to decide whether he can be her boyfriend. The guy holds out a box of ginseng, asking to first make sure that the ginseng is really fresh. The mother says she will show this ginseng to the doctor to expose the possible lie and prove to her daughter how easily she can be manipulated. The blue-haired woman sternly warns the man with glasses that if he uses counterfeit drugs, he will not be able to come near her daughter anymore. The man hands Dr. Wang a red box with its contents, and the doctor looks at the ginseng root with interest. Dr. Wang reports that he has never seen such excellent ginseng in his entire practice and confirms its high quality. The girl with blue hair thanks the guy and hugs him, saying that he is wonderful. The older woman says that the fact that the boy saved her father means nothing and asks him to name the price for the ginseng. The girl objects to her mother, claiming that the guy does not need money for the ginseng, and the mother accuses him of self-interest. The mother claims that the guy is poor and can't achieve anything on his own. He's just trying to survive by sucking up to women. The guy says he doesn't come from a good family and knows he's not good enough for her. The guy loses his temper and declares that he has dignity that cannot be trampled. He tells his sister to go look after Grandpa, and he leaves while his mother holds the girl. And at that moment, a message appears that Chairman Xia has woken up. The guy walks thoughtfully along the alley and wonders if anything has changed after the events that took place. He understands that the girl's mother still hasn't changed her attitude towards him, no matter what. A blonde man with a box of ginseng confidently talks about a future marriage, but receives a sharp rebuff. The blonde is outraged that someone dared to stop him and looks at the guy in shock. The blonde, frightened, recognizes the guy and is shocked that he is alive. The guy suddenly attacks the blonde and knocks him down with a punch in an action-packed scene. The guy, standing over the fallen man, says that he returned only to declare him a hypocrite, unworthy of his sister. The blonde is injured and stunned, not understanding how the guy was able to survive after falling from the top floor. The guy says forcefully that he has already spoken of himself as a ghost who has returned to life, and orders them not to approach his sister or himself. A girl with blue hair appears and hatefully accuses the guy of cruelty and hypocrisy, regretting trusting him. The frightened blonde claims that the guy is a ghost, and the blue-haired woman calmly confirms this. The woman asks Xiao Yan if he really came to deliver ginseng, and he agrees. The woman says that she told him to buy fresh ginseng at the auction, and notes that Xiao Yan will be the one who can help Chu Qian, not the guy with glasses. The woman officially offers the guy $1 million, half for ginseng, and the other half to keep him away from her daughter. The woman hands the guy a check, calling the ginseng root a real treasure. The man with a serious face looks away, and the woman with the blonde disdainfully tells him to take the money and get out. The boy walks down the street alone, thinking that Chu's mother will still say that he was only with her daughter for the money, and Chu will not want to talk to him anymore. The guy notices the donation box and thinks, He firmly tells the volunteer that he is donating 1 million. The volunteer is surprised by the size of the donation, and the guy calmly replies that it is possible to donate such an amount. A volunteer in a red cap asks a boy to give his name so that it can be mentioned in an advertisement. The guy thinks that if he gives his real name, they might start looking for him, and decides to keep a fictitious name. The boy chooses a new name for himself, Wangfu Shannon, while observing the image of a mysterious man nearby. Friends meet a guy and ask why he looks gloomy, and the conversation turns to ginseng. One of the friends reports that relatives are also looking for ginseng and promise news. The guy smiles and tells his friends not to worry, because the girl's grandfather is getting better, and says that they no longer communicate with her. The friends are surprised and ask about his relationship with his sister, but they are interrupted, explaining that they should not ask about Chu Qian's feelings. Friends bring a box of drinks, want to drink strongly so that Chu Qian understands who she has lost, and encourage the hero. The group decides to send one of their friends to buy snacks, and then they move on to a night of partying. At night, all three of them pass out in the dorm, and at this time, a mysterious blinding vision is visualized, where someone calls out to his sister, plunging into the light. A man in traditional clothing wakes up on the grass and panics as he realizes he has entered another world. He finds himself in captivity, surprised by his situation, and hears the news of the return of the Marquise. Realizing that he was set up and sent to prison, the hero is afraid that if the woman finds out what he did, he will be finished. The hero notices that his legs are chained and wonders why he was chained. A mysterious woman with red hair and a cloak enters the cell, and the hero turns away in horror. The man panics and thinks he is finished, remembering how this cruel woman almost killed him because of family traditions. The hero tries to justify himself and assures the woman that this is all a misunderstanding, and the servant was allegedly the initiator. A woman approaches a man threateningly with a sword hilt, and he, in horror, asks her not to do it. The hero, in tears and despair, begs to talk, urging her not to be impulsive and to discuss everything first. The woman silently rushes at him, and he meets this swift impulse with a numb expression. A woman with red hair quickly walks out of the cell, and a man lies on the floor in shock after a powerful blow. A man lies on the straw and wonders why he feels no pain after being struck by a sword. Finding himself back in the cell with the woman and the butler, the man realizes that she was aiming at the chains, freeing him. The woman asks the butler, Lao Fu, if this is his first time managing the mansion, and he replies that he has been doing so for over 30 years. The woman sternly reminds him that even if the Lord makes a mistake, he is still a lord, and demands to know why he is punishing her people. The butler, kneeling down, apologizes and explains that he was worried about the Marquise's reputation because of her husband. The woman says with a smile that she believes her husband and orders the immediate expulsion of the servant who allegedly seduced him. The woman reports that her husband is now under her care and demands that she hand over the keys to the inner treasury. Lao Fu silently and obediently hands the key over to the woman. The woman instructs her husband to seek Lao Fu's advice when needed and reminds him that he is now the third most important person in the house, and he replies that he understands. A woman with red hair promises to protect a man if someone dares to offend him. The man is amazed and wonders why girls like romantic gestures. The man admires the beauty and strength of the Marquise woman. Three characters are talking at the door, and the man realizes that he can give orders and be in charge. The woman says that only strangers call her Marquise, and between them, they can use first names. The man sheepishly asks if this is true. The woman, embarrassed, talks about returning to the men's room, and the man is surprised by her behavior. The woman undresses, and the man asks in confusion whether he should go out. The woman reminds him that they are already married, and states that she does not need to act like a lady in the army, to which the man agrees. In the morning at breakfast, the woman asks what happened last night, and the man is surprised by her question. The woman admits that she only knows the general story and has never heard the details, and the man is surprised that he was let go without even knowing the whole truth, and asks if she is afraid that he was pestering the maid. The woman looks closely at the man and asks whether he was pestering the maid. The man sheepishly denies the accusation, saying he is still a virgin, and the woman asks what virginity is. The man assures the woman that he did not molest the maid, and she says she believes him. The man wonders how she can trust him without knowing what happened. The woman replies that she trusts him as her husband, and asks if he needs a concubine if he liked the maid. The man excitedly asks if he can really have a concubine. In his thoughts, the man condemns the institution of concubines, considering it a manifestation of an unholy feudal society that leads to degradation. The woman reflects that people think she is cruel and uncaring about her reputation, but in reality, she wants a strong husband who will share her heart and soul. The woman seriously asks if he really wants a concubine and is ready to exchange her for another. The man reflects that she is a fair and reasonable woman who can only be compared to someone who has been with her all her life. The man declares that as long as he is her husband, he will not take a concubine. The man tells the woman what really happened. When a man and a woman suddenly enter the room, a fight breaks out and they are outraged that someone would dare to enter the Marquis's house. The woman angrily says that the #1 expert turned out to be a chatterbox and promises to sort out the situation. The maid reports that there is a box in the living room with magical items that she does not know how to use. The woman thinks about magical objects, and the man suggests that it might be the beer he brought. A man sits on the street and wonders why every time he crosses between worlds, he takes something with him. The man suggests that if his guess is correct, he can indeed move freely between the two worlds, carrying items such as ginseng and beer. The man dreams that if he can carry a basket of ginseng, he will be able to buy 1,000,000 cans of beer, and also remembers the exotic treasures of the Marquise, which can be sold for a fortune. The man thinks that after a successful plan, all the barriers between him and his sister will be destroyed. A man is happy on the veranda, holding jars and thinking that he can now make a fortune. The man calls the manager Lao Fu and asks him to take him to the Marquise's warehouse. The manager agrees, and the man says that he will take care of the Marquise's treasures and resources, after which they are led together to the inner vault. The man excitedly hopes that there are too many treasures in the vault, perhaps even more than the wealth of the country. The man plans to take a little, a dragon's eye pearl, and a blood jade finger, thinking that it is insignificant. But he remembers that the finger was recently valued at tens of millions. The manager invites the man to take a look at the vault, but the huge room inside is almost empty. The man accuses the manager of emptying the vault and trying to frame him, but the manager justifies himself by saying that he would not dare to do such a thing. The man is indignant about why the treasury is so empty, and the manager asks him to calm down and explains that other rulers were rich, but the Marquise was always very stingy and invested everything in the army. Even so, the emperor suspects the Marquise, other families are hunting her, and the man realizes that Huanfu Shenian has taken on a colossal burden. The man asks the manager to show him the records of the house, and stores so that he can look through them himself, and receives consent. The man is upset and complains that he cannot even dream of wealth. The man loudly calls the manager, who delicately informs him that the records are still being prepared, asking him not to rush. The man, putting his arm around the manager, asks if he knows anything about ginseng and asks to show him a place with a lot of herbs. Outside the capital, a man is delighted to find 20-year-old ginseng. The man shows off the dragon grass in surprise, not believing that this is possible. The servants exchange glances, discussing the strange behavior of the Marquise, and decide to simply get used to it. The man says that after collecting the herbs, you can return home. A man, having received a basket of dragon grass, instructs the manager to take all the grass to the bedroom, and the manager asks again, in surprise. The man reasons that he can only travel back with what he has on hand, so he needs to put the herb in the bedroom to take with him. The manager doubts whether he should really bring the grass into the Marquise's bedroom, reasoning that he should not let her see the weeds. The manager explains that since the hero is engaged to the Marquise and does not have his own home, he will have to sleep with her. The hero is indignant. In a feudal society, it is wrong to sleep together before marriage. The manager agrees that this is unacceptable. It is illustrated that nobles have their own rules in marriage, but the Marquise has been on the battlefield for too long and does not take these traditions seriously. The hero reflects that after many years of loneliness, he will have to sleep with a beautiful woman, although this is unexpected for him. The hero gets hit on the head and loses his balance. Blood comes from his nose. The Marquise, sitting on a horse in the forest, asks why the hero does not want to live in the same room with her. The Marquise asks whether his embarrassment is connected with the fact that in the morning the conversation turned to virginity, and the hero is embarrassed, remembering his state. The hero exclaims that he is afraid to be rude to the Marquise, because he is a man, to which she calmly says that if there are no problems, then let them sleep together. The Marquise explains that if he wants to sleep next to the grass, it's not a problem, since she's used to sleeping in the open air all year round. The man, nervously and smiling, with a hint of awkwardness, speaks perfectly. He sits on the bed between the baskets of grass and wonders why he feels strange. The hero reflects that he feels like a servant being looked after by the Marquise herself. The Marquise enters the room in a short robe, plunging everything into clouds of steam. The hero notices the attractive figure of the Marquise, focusing on her parameters. He wonders in his mind how anyone could resist such a temptation, and wonders if he is ready to say goodbye to his virginity. The man begins to nervously ask Shenian to talk first, showing his confusion. An internal dialogue in the form of an angel and a devil pushes the hero to take a decisive step or remember his sister Chu. Still blushing and very nervous, the hero admits that he is not ready. It is too unexpected for him. The marquise, lying on the bed, says that she is leaving for a northern military town in the morning and advises him to go to bed early. The guy smiles happily and says that he is going to sleep, lying under the blanket next to the girl with long red hair. The guy lies in bed and thinks that he is a real man and will not do anything bad to his wife, and then looks at the girl in surprise. The girl falls asleep quickly, and the guy is surprised how she was able to fall asleep so quickly on such a pillow. The guy wakes up in his room and notices 2 glowing baskets by the door. He comes to his senses, looks at the magic baskets of treasures, and joyfully exclaims that his guess has been confirmed, and then someone calls out to him. The guy's companion appears in the room and asks in surprise where he has been since this morning. The friend remembers that the guy didn't even answer his calls and worries that he might have gone crazy. The guy analyzes the situation and realizes that only those things that he was holding in his hands could have been transferred with him. He says with regret that he will now tell where he went after the party. He suggests looking at the baskets first and listens to his interlocutor's guesses about a night hike in the mountains for his sister's sake. A friend asks with concern about the bloody ginseng and worries that the guy might have done something illegal. The guy calmly explains that these are freshly picked wild herbs and asks if such herbs could be found in the pharmacy. The friend agrees, but is surprised where he was able to get 2 whole baskets. The boy asks Liu Dai, whose family is in the export business, to sell the herbs at the lowest market price. Liu Dai demands to know where these herbs came from, since his family does not sell anything illegal. The guy admits that he can't yet reveal the source, but promises that everything is legal. Liu Dai agrees to trust the boy and notes that such valuable herbs are in high demand, but a low price is needed for high profits. The guy suggests that they split the profits between everyone, and Liu Dai notes that he is a good and friendly person. The boy is happily sorting mushrooms, and Liu Dai is telling someone on the phone about the third brother's cool deed and the imminent return of the third and fourth brothers. The third brother returns home and meets the others, who are glad to see him, noting that if he had not returned, the fourth brother would have called the police. One of the friends reproaches another for drinking in the dorm, and a third says that Liu Dai even offered to buy drinks, while a fourth suggests that they see what Shu Fei brought. The boys look at the baskets with surprise and suspect that so many herbs could only be obtained by robbing a Chinese medicine store. A friend in a green sports jacket notices that their family is in the business of selling such herbs and wonders if others can see it. He notes that the herbs are freshly picked and that no store has such a supply. The friend expresses surprise and demands an explanation as to where the third brother got these herbs from. One of the friends notices that the second brother's family sells such herbs and reminds him of the rules, and the other cheerfully says that in their business they cannot give out the source, assuring that everything is fine. The friend in the green jacket explains that such herbs cost more than 1,000,000 yuan, and if they can establish a stable supply, they will be worth tens of millions in a year. But if the source is revealed, the third brother will be left with nothing. The friend confirms that the previous speaker is right and says that he called him to discuss business, glad that he was saved from his father's reprimand. The friend in the sports jacket says that if there is no more news, he's heading to the library and advises against drinking in the dorms in the future. The guy with glasses asks his friend to stay and help him monitor the process of trading herbs. The friend in the sports jacket says with a slight smile that they shouldn't think he was hired out of pity and to strengthen the friendship. The guy with glasses explains that he was misunderstood and adds that his job offer is not about friendship, but simply needs someone who understands the business. The guy with glasses jokes that the other 2 friends are the children of a rich family, and his interlocutor is just going to watch them deceive him. The friend calmly notes that they are not very smart and would never cheat, but on the contrary, they will only give more. The 2 interlocutors look displeased and say that he has gone too far in his statements about the brothers. The guy with glasses admits with slight anxiety that he really needs help from his friends, and he is afraid that a stranger will be too obsessed with profit. The friend agrees to help and says that he only needs 0.5% profit per month, and the guy is surprised, because usually they charge at least 20% for such services. The friend in the sports jacket then suggests finding someone else, but the other friend happily agrees to participate and encourages them to celebrate the start of a successful business. The turquoise-haired girl is glad that Shu Fei finally picked up the phone and is worried about him. The guy with glasses smiles and says it's him, turning to his sister. The blue-haired girl says that Yang Ming told her that her brother was missing, which made her very scared, but she is glad that he is okay. A guy with glasses asks his sister where she is, and if he can meet her, and his friends decide to leave him alone, thinking that he will not go to lunch today. The girl asks excitedly if he really wants to see her, and remarks that it seems like something important has happened to him again. The guy, blushing, is stunned by the question of when she can marry him, and shares his feelings, admitting that he should no longer hide secrets from her. The guy with a soft smile offers to meet and talk in person. The girl with blue pigtails says that she will come to him because all his roommates are there and she wants to meet them. The guy asks in surprise about the meeting with the neighbors, and his friends show genuine interest in this event. The guy says he was just about to go to lunch. The girl happily asks to wait for her and says that she will be there soon. The guy agrees and says goodbye to his sister while his friend fusses, remembering about his suit and the need to take a shower, while the other one books a table at a luxury restaurant. Shu Fei, smiling and holding on to the ladder, asks his friends not to dramatize what is happening. One of the friends gestures, explaining that he feels pressured because he is not used to talking to girls, while Shu Fei does it every day. Shu Fei replies that friends are exaggerating everything and suggests that they look at how someone else is still calm. A friend in a tracksuit suddenly asks Shu Fei to borrow his perfume. The guys, dressed in suits and sports uniforms, announce that they are ready to go and remind you of a reserved table at the restaurant. Friends ask why he doesn't want to go to a Western restaurant or is planning to treat his guests to fast food. Shu Fei says with a smile that the girl doesn't care where to dine. She will be happy to be next to him. One of the friends points at Fei and exclaims that he is a show-off, while the others watch his confident demeanor. Students on the street are discussing a beautiful girl with blue hair with surprise, deciding that they have never seen one like her before and do not understand why she came to a male dormitory. The girl happily waves at Shu Fei along with her friend, and the other guys are confused as to why such an attractive girl is interested in this particular guy. One of the guys happily remarks that Chu Jian will bring her best friend, considering it his chance, but the other one immediately refutes him, and Shu Fei calls his sister. A friend says that Li Jiaxue is a beautiful girl from the English department, but she is not suitable for them. The guy in the suit wonders why he has no chance, since Chu and Shu are not compatible with each other. The girl throws herself into Shu Fei's arms. She thanks him for the ginseng that helped her grandfather recover, and Shu is happy to help. Shu Fei greets Li and says that he hasn't seen her for a long time, and she notes that she wouldn't have come if it weren't for her friend's persuasion. The girl is indignant that they should not slander Shu Fei, and Li replies that she defends him at every opportunity. Shu Fei agrees that he was too weak before, and his friend listens thoughtfully. One of the friends cheerfully hugs Shu Fei and asks him to introduce them to the girls. The girl says with a smile that there is no need to introduce them, because she already knows everyone. 3 students introduce themselves to each other in order of seniority against the backdrop of a university street. The blue-haired girl notices that Qian Shuo is ranked 2nd in the university and talks to him. Qian Shuo is surprised to note that his interlocutor is ranked 3rd in the university rankings. The girl points at Qian Shuo and says that he will soon be in 3rd place. Qian Shuo replies with a serious face that at this rate she will need another year to catch up with him, and the guys advise her not to be rude to the girl. At the club, the company is alarmed by the news that Chu Qian went on a date with her boyfriend. The man with long hair angrily asks why she went to that man again, and reminds her that last time they said he died. Another man remembers tensely that last time no one saw the guy fall. The golden-haired man gets angry and states that he was once late to the hospital in front of her mother, making it clear that the story is not over yet. A man with short hair seriously asks another man what they should do now. An angry man with long blonde hair orders everyone to gather and go visit his enemy. A group of friends laugh at a table in a restaurant, discussing Shu Fei's awkward behavior. A young man in a suit teases a girl by asking if she has any free friends to meet, while another guy drinks from a can. A girl with blue hair offers to send her classmates contacts so that a guy can court them, and another girl sits next to her with a gloomy look. A young man in a suit jokingly threatens Shu Fei that if he hurts his girlfriend, his friends will kill him. Shu Fei thanks a girl named Chu for liking him. The girl with blue hair smiles and says that she should thank God for meeting him. Friends sitting nearby smile and ask the couple to stop being affectionate, while one loudly exclaims. The old man in the hat points his finger at Shu Fei and accuses him of cheating, while the other man asks if he is sure about it. The old man explains that he wanted to sell ginseng dug in the mountains for 100,000 to treat his wife, but was deceived. The old man tearfully tells that the man pretended to be a buyer of ginseng, and when he went out to get water, He stole the ginseng and ran away, and they were unable to catch him. The old man reports that his wife had no money for a doctor, and she died yesterday, causing shock to those around her. In the cafeteria, the students express surprise that there is a person in their school who is capable of stealing a valuable thing that could save a life. The other students were disappointed to hear that they thought the accused was a good person, but it was all done for the sake of the girl Chu Qian. A young man with glasses loudly declares that it is possible to slander him, but forbids insulting his girlfriend. A group of people on the street ask a guy if he knows what mercy is, and one of the girls is indignant that they can't talk about it. A man in a suit addresses the crowd and says that if they are spreading rumors, who will be held responsible if the truth turns out to be different? The young man with the card says that he has 100,000, and with his relationship with Shu Fei, he could give that money, and asks why steal from the old man. The guy in green asks the old man to describe the place in order to gain access to the surveillance footage. A woman with long hair sternly reproaches a university student, asking how he could slander a worker and saying that she is ashamed of him. The guy with glasses wonders why. If he really stole the ginseng, the old man didn't go to the police but went to the student council. The woman with the colored glasses indignantly explains that the grandfather did not want to disgrace the university, so he turned to her, and now she must solve the problem. The girl demands that he admit his mistake and assures him that the student council will be kinder if Shu Fei confesses. The old man cries and makes excuses that he is just an ordinary worker and cannot cope with city affairs. The guy with glasses abruptly declares that he has never met this old man and asks him not to put on a show. The woman with glasses points at the guy and demands to know where he got the ginseng from. She doubts that the guy could have gotten this ginseng on his own, because even if he had gone to the mountains, it would have taken longer than he claims. Shu Fei mentally admits that he cannot tell the truth about the origin of ginseng because he took it from another world. Shu Fei suggests that if she doesn't believe it, she should just call the police. The woman points to Shu Fei and claims that instead of admitting guilt, he simply wants to tarnish the university's reputation. 3 angry students lash out and demand that someone get out of their university. A shocked teacher says he didn't expect such behavior from students here, while others are calling on the student council president to punish the culprit. One of the students indignantly claims that there shouldn't be such students at the university. The blonde man consoles the elderly man and hands him a card with money as an apology. The blonde man asks Shu Fei with a serious expression why he did this. The woman in glasses calls on the president not to listen to explanations and to immediately arrest the culprit. The guy with glasses firmly states that he believes in Shu Fei's character and believes that he is innocent. The crowd discusses the incident and someone blames Chu Qian. The blonde man smiles and tells the black-haired boy that he will only bring shame to Chu Qian. The dean appears on the scene, takes control of the situation, and promises to punish the culprit. The guy in glasses indignantly asks how one can draw conclusions when nothing has been decided yet regarding his parents. The dean angrily reminds him that he is the head of the department, and then the guy is surprised to receive a call from the university. The guy tries to justify himself on the phone, and at that moment the elderly man accuses his son of the death of his wife. The boy panics and tells his mother that everything is not as she heard, and a girl with blue hair appears next to him. The blue-haired girl picks up the phone and politely introduces herself as Chu Qian, Shu Fei's friend and the heiress of the company. The guy confirms to his mother that she is indeed the heiress of the company, and that everything is fine with him. The girl with blue hair assures the guy not to worry about the false accusations. The blonde man, in the company of the dean and other adults, reproaches them that they cannot use Chu Qian's position to intimidate them, and demands that they admit their mistake and leave. The blonde is convinced that Chu Qian could not commit an act that would dishonor her family, so he considers the guy guilty. Chu Qian indignantly declares that the investigation is not over and all slanderers will be punished. The guy with glasses seriously says that his family's lawyers will see this matter through to the end. The girl with blue hair assures the guy that she will take care of everything herself. A man with a mustache and a brown suit happily says that he is happy to see her face again. The girl with blue hair asks Mr. Andrew to speak without a Western accent. Mr. Andrew admires her good fortune and admits that she is indeed incredibly lucky. The man with the mustache bows to the girl and says that he leaves everything to her. A man with a monocle introduces himself as the lead lawyer for Grey Verdict and says he will be handling the libel case. In the crowd, people are surprised to hear that a world-famous team of lawyers has arrived. The girl with green hair is shocked by the high cost of services and says that it was previously impossible to hire such specialists. The guy in the suit laughs and says that with that kind of money, her boyfriend couldn't have stolen the ginseng. The blonde man thinks with anxiety and anger that Chu Chen has gone too far for Shu Fei and doesn't know what to do next. A monocled lawyer asks an elderly man where exactly his client allegedly stole the ginseng and notes that he has no permanent job and no way to buy expensive ginseng. The lawyer, with a stern face, asks whether the interlocutor can take responsibility for his words. The crowd is concerned that the foreigner is speaking too aggressively, and it is difficult for an ordinary worker to object to him. The lawyer bluntly states that if the opponent fails to respond, he will be held liable for disinformation, slander, and fraud. An elderly man desperately shouts at those around him to pay attention to how the foreigner is treating him. The police tell the man that a complaint has been filed about blackmailing students and demand that he follow them. An elderly man in a panic calls for help from his brother Hai and asks for protection from the police. The two students mockingly discuss why the man calls the student brother, suspecting an attempt to frame Shu Fei. An elderly man clings to a woman in glasses who angrily shouts at him not to approach her because she doesn't even know him. The woman with glasses panicked and reasoned that Zhang Hai must be very jealous of Shu Fei. Otherwise, he wouldn't have done such a bad thing. The bespectacled woman makes excuses to the crowd, claiming that she doesn't know the old man, and demands that Shu Fei explain where he got the ginseng from. The girl stands next to the blonde man and asks if the university president wants his people to continue to be disgraced. She coldly asks the blonde man if she should reveal who actually ordered Zhang Hai to do this. The blonde angrily tells Zhang Hai to shut up, and the teacher admits that there was a mistake, and that student Shu Fei was unfairly accused. A police officer tells a woman with glasses and an old man that they must go to the station to cooperate with the investigation. The girl, Shu Fei, and the police officer discuss that the victims of blackmail should also come forward to testify. The lawyer with the monocle declares that he will go to the police station with his client. The girl thanks everyone for their help and, smiling, calls Shu Fei to run away with her. One of the students suggests that his friends follow the couple, and the second one wonders where he is going. One of the friends objects that it is not nice to follow a couple, and the others express disapproval. The guy in the green sweater enthusiastically asks if the others want to see Shu and Chu make love to each other. In the evening, Shu Fei and Chu Chen are walking in the park under the pink sunset. Shu Fei apologizes to Chu Chen, and she asks in surprise what happened. Chu Chen admits that she will not leave Shu Fei, and explains that she has never loved another and does not want to be hated by him. Shu Fei hugs Chu Chen and confesses that he has liked her since they first met, proposing to be together. Chu Chen, with tears in his eyes, asks if Shu can repeat the confession again, while the couple is secretly watched by their friends. Yu sheepishly replies that Chu should refuse him, as he once did himself. Chu Chen pouts and says that if Shu doesn't repeat the confession, she will continue to say no. Zhu promises to confess his love until Chu agrees, and she suggests they do it on a date, after which he vows to never leave her alone. Shu Fei opens the door to his dorm room, and another guy follows behind him. The two young men smile and tell Shu Fei that it would be fair to refuse his sister once, and joke that he is not afraid that he will be refused all the time. Shu Fei is shocked, and with a red face, he shouts, "What are you doing?" His friends laugh and tease him, surprised by his hidden romanticism. The guy in the green jacket throws up his hands and says that he actually wanted to stop them. A girl in a tracksuit sits on a chair and discusses with her friend what is good about this guy, and hears in response that he is better than all men. She asks how things are going with her request, and her friend replies that Shu Fei has 2 baskets of different herbs. The girl admits that Shu Fei has been through a lot and has changed a lot. A friend notices that Shu Fei wants to start a herbal business and suggests that they work together. The girl laughs that he will work with his neighbor. The friend says that Shu Fei and his friend can only sell the herbs at a low price, and her family could help profitably, and asks if Chu Qian would like to participate. Chu Qian explains with a smile that Shu Fei is kind and sincere, and will not agree to accept her help. Chu Qian enthusiastically comes up with the idea that she can secretly help him and will inflate the prices at the market. The friend says with surprise and slight fatigue that she did not expect such cunning from the smartest student at the university. In the men's dormitory, a guy asks Shu Fei if he will sleep away from home again. Shu Fei gives his friends some herbs, warns them not to make a fuss, and asks them to excuse him just in case if he doesn't make it to class. The friends look conspiratorial and envious that Shu Fei will spend the night with her sister. Shu Fei, embarrassed and tired, asks his friends to stop fantasizing. At the store, Shu Fei thinks about the girl with red hair and asks the saleswoman to sell him white and red wine and beer. After returning home, Shu Fei falls asleep in his room with a bag of drinks, lost in his thoughts. The old man, in a panic, calls the marquis and asks him to wake up. A young man, just waking up, asks Lao Fu what happened, and he tells him that the Marquise is looking for him everywhere. A woman with red hair enters the room furiously and asks Lao Fu if he has found the Marquis. Lao Fu points to a young man and tells the Marquise that here he is. Lao Fu whispers to the young man that the Marquise is never late for training and took the time today to find him. The Marquise tells Lao Fu to call for everyone to stop searching because she needs to speak with the hero alone, and Lao Fu agrees. The young man apologizes to the Marquise, and she angrily asks where he was and how he was able to disappear so quietly. The man awkwardly asks the Marquise if she would believe him if he said that he had returned from another world. The Marquise indignantly smashes the table and exclaims that this is nonsense. The man screams in fear and then happily shows the Marquise the bottles he brought. The girl with red hair is surprised to learn that among the drinks brought there is wine and more. She asks if the guy is really from another world, and he happily confirms. The girl suspiciously remarks that this is incredible and hints that he may be an enemy spy. The guy emotionally justifies himself, saying that if he were a spy, he would not have saved her, but would have killed her. She says that since he is not a spy, he can continue to be her husband. The girl assures him that she will be able to protect him in any situation, and the guy, confused, tries to answer something. She looks closely at the guy and asks if he wants to be her husband. The guy sheepishly explains that he actually wants to marry her and that he loves her very much. The girl promises not to reveal his secret to anyone if he does not do anything against her and the great kingdom of Yan. The guy assures that he will not do anything against her or her house, but on the contrary, he wants to make their house better. The red-haired girl announces with a slight smile that Genbei's residence is now in the boy's hands. The guy asks her with surprise if she is afraid that he will deceive her, and the girl assures him that she trusts him because husband and wife are one. The girl leaves with her purchases and threateningly adds that if the guy deceives her, she will kill him. The guy wonders if she is a real heroine or just likes to drink, and the old man asks if everything is okay with him. The old man asks what the boy is doing in the house and asks if the Marquise yelled at him because she was in a hurry. The old man says that the whole city was in an uproar and the Marquise's soldiers were ready to turn everything upside down to find him, and now everyone knows that he is lost. The guy is seriously surprised that they could create such a fuss for him. The old man explains that the Marquise can only marry once, and although they have only known each other for a short time, for her the guy is already the most important person in her life. The old man says that the Marquise loves him very much, and the guy is already heading for the exit. The guy goes outside and thinks that Xiangnan is a truly worthy girl, but he already has a loved one. Crown Prince Zhao Zhen is indignant that he did not find out details about the Marquise's husband last time, and still only knows his name. One of the ninja reports that a mysterious man appeared out of nowhere, and there is no trace of his past. Another masked man notes that this man appeared after the Marquise's trek into the mountains where he saved her, and suggests that he may be the hermit's disciple. The prince scolds his men for believing the rumors, and announces that there will be a festive banquet at the Marquise's residence, at which he will personally meet Shu Fei. The prince clarifies that the Ministry of Military Affairs must reduce the salaries of the Northern Army, and the interlocutor replies that the successes of the Marquise are so great that even the emperor did not object to the reduction. The man remarks with a sly smile that the Genbai army may not survive the winter, and if the pay is cut, the Marquise will be in trouble. The prince laughs and says that the Marquise herself is to blame. If she had married him, this would not have happened. The guy asks about the banquet with surprise, sitting at a table with food. He asks if he must be at the banquet, to which the Marquise replies that it is a celebration for the Genbei army, and, as her husband, he is obliged to go. The guy asks when the banquet will be, and the Marquise replies, in 3 days, and then asks him to help open the wine. The guy says that he has never been to a banquet, and is afraid of putting the girl in an awkward position. She assures that everything is fine, and that the Genbei army's celebratory banquet is not a reason for nitpicking. The girl takes a big sip, and is surprised at how cleverly the bottle is sealed. She raves that the wine is simply delicious, and is surprised that a bottle of such clear glass must cost a fortune. The guy explains that in their world, this wine is not very expensive, although he finds it difficult to explain. The girl reflects that if they were truly rich, she would not have to worry about the soldiers, who do not even have warm clothes. The guy is genuinely surprised why, despite winning the war, the soldiers still don't receive their salaries. The girl says with resentment that despite the victory, they did not receive any reward, and even had their salary cut. The guy warns him to stop, because the white wine is very strong, and the girl complains discontentedly about the meaningless victory. She is offended that she seems inept, and he says with a smile that she just drank too much, and it would be better for her to go to bed. The girl lies on the bed and thinks that she does not want to beg the war ministry, but she cannot allow the soldiers to suffer. The guy looks at the sleeping woman and thinks that he doesn't love her. He decides that since he will enjoy the benefits of this world, he will be able to help her. The boy asks the maid to call Lao Fu, and she agrees. Lao Fu is interested in the guy's plans now that he has all the records of the house for so many years in his hands. A guy with a book in his hands asks how much of an army is needed in winter. The old man replies that 100,000 toils are required for winter clothing alone. The guy is surprised and asks how much he can buy for 100,000. Lao Fu explains that it costs 1 toil to buy a set of warm clothes, but the guy thinks that in his world, a jacket costs about 300 yuan, so 100,000 tiles is a huge amount. The guy is shocked to realize that it is a whole 30 million. The guy asks Lao Fu when exactly he will need the money. Lao Fu energetically replies that the money is needed in 10 days. The guy anxiously asks if there are any ideas on how to quickly earn the required amount, and Lao Fu is amazed at the complexity of the task. To earn 100,000 in 10 days. The guy declares with determination that he must help the girl, and Lao Fu is at a loss as to how this is even possible. Lao Fu cautiously advises that if no other way can be found, it is worth borrowing money from Qian Renjie, the son of the Minister of Internal Affairs. Lao Fu adds that Qian Renjie is known as a rich tiger with millions in his hands, and the boy wonders why the Marquise didn't borrow money from him earlier. Lao Fu explains that their families were feuding, the Marquise's reputation had grown, and there was no peace, so it would be better to apply for a loan now. The guy resolutely says that he will try, and Lao Fu says that he has already prepared a carriage for him. At this time, the Marquise wakes up with difficulty and reproaches herself for her unworthy behavior. The soldier anxiously reports that he just heard that the Marquis went to borrow money from Qian Renjie to save the army. The Marquise angrily asks who gave him permission to go, and the soldier suggests that the guy is too eager to prove himself. The soldier says that it is too late to chase him, because if he borrows money, the Marquise's reputation will suffer, but she sharply rebukes him. The warrior irritably notes that his subordinates are talking too much. The crown prince asks with a grin if it's true that Xu Fei went to the Chen family for money. The servant confirms to the prince that Xu Fei left for the 100-flower pavilion by carriage. The prince is maliciously happy that the rules of the royal family will be broken by Xu Fei. Lao Fu informs Xu Fei that they have arrived, and the boy peeks out from behind the carriage curtain. Xu Fei is surprised and notes that the 100 Flowers pavilion really does look like a nobleman's home. Passers-by discuss the fact that the Marquise's carriage has arrived at the house, and that it may be the Marquise's new husband, but they consider the Marquise's people's visit to the house a disgrace to the Qian family. Xu Fei quietly asks Lao Fu if he still supports him, receives confirmation, and accepts the situation, saying that he understands. The woman meets Xu Fei and Lao Fu at the stairs. They say that they are looking for Mr. Qian, from where laughter is heard. The blonde notices from the top floor that he has guessed that the person in front of him is the husband of the Marquise of Zhenbei, and he still cannot hide it. Xu Fei smiles and marvels at how his reputation now allows even strangers to recognize him immediately. Qian Ronji formally invites the guests up and expresses interest in helping the Marquise, offering to talk upstairs. Xu Fei asks if this means that Mr. Qian has decided to lend him 100,000 toils. Chen Renji hands over a receipt and says that he is ready to provide assistance in the amount of 100,000 toils if he wishes. Lying down with a casual look, Xu Fei thinks that if he accepts this money, he will let both families down. Chen Renji admits with a smile that he doesn't quite understand what Brother Xu is getting at. Xu Fei explains that the loan should be without conditions or terms, since Huanfu's family will have to use their store to pay off the debt anyway if he asks for money as a marker. Chen Renji replies in a restrained and friendly manner that there is no need to speak to him so rudely. The young man calmly drinks tea and talks about the possibilities of limiting the army's supplies, noting Mr. Qian's ambition. The blonde man in green robes says with a grin that he underestimated Brother Xu and calls the girls in. The young man reacts with surprise and asks if the other man is really going to shut him up if he can't come to an agreement. Two girls in light clothes surround a man. One of them says that since he is here, she should serve him well, and the man gets scared and asks what they are doing. The man finds himself between two girls, looking embarrassed, while below, the blonde man ponders plans for the good of his family. The blonde explains that the Huangfu family is very influential, and his own is rich, and proposes an alliance that could make them the most powerful in Yan country. The blond man, looking stern, promises 10,000 taels for personal use if the man takes the title for 100,000 taels, and hints that he will be able to have fun with the girls. The blonde, in a raised voice, persuades his brother not to miss out on the benefit for the good of the family and urges him not to isolate the marquise. The man smiles and agrees, saying that it is a great offer, while one of the girls gently touches his cheek. The blond man happily invites the man to relax in the flower pavilion, and the man gestures for him to wait. The young man makes a gesture and tells the girl that his words mean a complete rejection of the union with her family. A blond man in a green suit, with a worried face, persuades him to think about 100,000 toils. The young man confidently offers to make a bet that he will earn 100,000 taels by the end of the month. Two men discuss the terms of the bet, and the young man offers to put up a pavilion of 100 flowers as collateral. The blonde asks what his opponent will put in return, since you can't make a bet without a stake, and he replies that he will do it if he loses. The young man confirms that he will fulfill any wish of Mr. Chien, and the blond man agrees to make a bet with interest. In the house of Marquise Zhenbei, guards and a woman with red hair and armor gathered in a room. A young man meets a woman with red hair, asking if she is awake, and she asks if he went to see Qian Renjie. The young man explains to the older man with a smile that he had to talk to the man about helping the army. The woman sternly replies that it is not his problem. The red-haired woman angrily asks him if he knows who Qian is, and who gave him the authority to borrow money on behalf of the marquise. The older man anxiously persuades the young man to confess his mistake to the marquise, but he is perplexed as to what he did wrong. The woman violently destroys the floor around her, screaming who gave him permission to go to this man. The helmeted warrior explains that the marquise ordered Xu Fei to kneel and be punished. The young man asks in surprise if she really ordered him to kneel. The young man is forced to his knees, and shock appears in his eyes. The old man explains that if the marquise has done something wrong, he must kneel and accept the punishment. The young man sternly asks the marquise if she really wants him to kneel before her, and she leaves, ordering him to be sent to prison. The young man looks into the distance and sadly says that he understands her. The soldier asks the woman what happened, and she replies that she was offended by being called simply Marquise and not by her name. The warrior reasons that if Grandpa found out about the attempt to borrow money from the Chien family, he would cause a stir, so he asks to punish the offender before Grandpa kicks him out of the family. The elderly man denies the accusation and explains that Xu Fei did not borrow money from the Chien family. The old man adds that Xu Fei even rejected the Chen family's bribe, which consisted of a beautiful woman and a large amount of money. The marquise asks irritably why she was not told about this before. One of the guards reports that there are rumors about Xu Fei's dispute with the Chen family, that he promised to earn 100,000 taels in 10 days, and everyone is surprised by this news. Xu Fei sits in a dark room with Hei, holding his head, and thinking that he didn't expect this from her. Xu Fei thoughtfully concludes that she is just an ordinary feudal marquise. The man explains that even if all of the Huangchu family's shops were sold out, it would not be enough to earn 100,000 taels in 10 days. The same man in red with a shining aura praises Chen for his intelligence, saying that he did well this time. The blonde explains that everything is being done for the sake of the crown prince, who is considering the possibility of hiring him for a good position. A man with long brown hair points out that two brothers from the Qian family hold good positions, highlighting the family's ambitions. The blonde bows and says that everything is being done to help His Highness, and the man in red laughs loudly. The man in red solemnly says that his interlocutor has earned a high position, and the blonde thanks the prince. The woman looks inside, and the young man in the prison asks if the marquise has changed her mind or still insists on punishing him. The woman in the cloak says she can protect the man, but not at the cost of the family's reputation. The man indignantly asks when he ever ruined her family's reputation. She reveals that he made a bet with Qian Renjie for 100,000 taels in 10 days and admits that she can't even help him. The man is convinced that he will win, because if he made a bet, it means he is confident in victory, and he expresses regret that she does not believe his words. He asks her again how she can believe that he can achieve his goal in 10 days, and exclaims that then they should get a divorce. She categorically refuses, saying that she will never agree to a divorce unless one of them dies, but the man remains calm and says that he has already decided everything. A woman appears in front of the hole in the wall and anxiously states that this is a bad idea, while the man remains frightened and silent. The old man asks if they are still there, and the woman tells them to keep an eye on the man if he leaves. A man with a weakened look in the gap thinks that this marriage is not right for him, and he needs a divorce. Against the backdrop of the night sky, The old man calls the man by name, mentally apologizing for the marquise's actions. The woman, looking through the papers, confirms her readiness to sell all the stores to help her husband, and the knight is surprised by her decision. She, standing at the window in the moonlight, admits to herself that he is her husband, and she must help him. The young man reproaches the old man for abandoning him for the second time, to which he replies that it is a misunderstanding. The man humbly agrees to endure it once, but is not prepared to endure it 2 or 3 times, and the old man confirms that he understands everything. The hero explains that he will need the old man's help to take part in the bet, and says that he will start the next morning. Looking up with confidence, the man decides that despite the expectations of his failure, he must earn 100,000 in 10 days. At the gate of the Marquis of Zhenbei's mansion, a guard greets Xu Fei, who cheerfully wishes him a good morning. The guard is surprised by Lao Fu's appearance and asks what happened to his hair. Lao Fu, with 2 swords on his back, wiping away tears, sharply asks not to say anything about his new haircut. Lao Fu explains that Xu Fei cut his hair himself, assuring him that it is better this way, and the surprised guard expresses his condolences over the loss. Xu Fei asks Lao Fu if he remembers the techniques he was taught and begins demonstrating them while counting out loud. Xu Fei and Lao Fu set to work energetically, loudly declaring that they will earn 100,000 tiles in 10 days. After the training, Xu Fei praises Lao Fu for a job well done and then asks if the Huangfu family has an auction house. Lao Fu explains that the auction house was closed for a couple of years due to the expansion of the Qian family's business. Xu Fei says that this is good and reminds them that they still need 120 tiles for the plan they had discussed the day before. Xu Fei clarifies that the money must be Lao Fu's personal funds, not from the family reserves, and Lao Fu regretfully notes that he now feels like a slave. Xu Fei promises Lao Fu that he will return the money in 10 days and asks him not to worry, and Lao Fu asks if he is going to use the money to buy and sell treasures at auction. Xu Fei explains that he cannot earn 100,000 tiles this way and is going to get into advertising. The guard reports to the girl that all the shops are registered in her name, but she understands that even if they are sold, it will not be enough. The blonde man insists that selling all the stores to an unknown person is unworthy and is worried about the consequences. The woman reminds him that the affairs between her and her husband are her family's business, and sharply puts down her interlocutor, who asks for forgiveness for crossing boundaries. People on the street discuss how much money it takes to throw around so much paper and look at the strange storm of sheets. Passers-by notice that there are inscriptions on the papers and wonder who could afford such expenses. The heroine recognizes the symbols of the Huangfu auction house on the poster and sees a bright announcement about the unusual auction lots. The man with white hair worries that Xu Fei is trying to deceive everyone with his plan and asks the marquise to stop her husband to avoid consequences. At the market, a crowd of people pays respectful attention to a woman. The 3 men ask the marquise in surprise if what is written on the paper is true and if there really are divine items in the Huangfu auction house. One of the men makes excuses to the crowd, but a cry goes out that the Huangfu family is keeping their promises, and Prince Zhao Zhen appears in a sedan chair. All present bow and greet His Royal Highness the Prince. The red-haired girl bows respectfully and says that it is an honor for her to meet the prince. The prince tells Shannon with a slight smile that she doesn't need to be polite. The prince orders everyone to disperse and wait, then says that he will see what divine items the Huangfu family will display at the auction. The crowd is discussing how handsome the prince is and eagerly awaiting the auction, wondering what will happen there. The prince tells Shannon with determination that he will bring all the people of the capital to support her auction. The gray-haired man suggests that the marquise go stop Xiao Fei, but Shannon decides to return to the house as well. The girl says that she will not interfere, since the dispute is not over yet, and wants to see where it all leads. A young man paints with a brush and eats an apple, thinking that if he doesn't sleep, he won't get to another world. The older man asks worriedly if the young man will really be able to make money this way, since he has already spent all his funds. The young man stands up and stretches, saying that he needs to sleep and that everything will be ready soon. When saying goodbye, he says that he might disappear for a day or 2, and the older man suspects that he is not going to run away, after which the guy leaves with the assurance that he will show everything upon his return. Before going to bed, the young man tells Lao Fu not to let anyone near him for the next 2 days. The old man says with anxiety that he is still not sure of success, and that he has given him everything. Later, the old man shouts in surprise into the empty room, asking where the gentleman has disappeared to. A young man in another reality apologizes on the phone, explaining that he has been busy for a couple of days. His interlocutor on the phone reports that the first part of the money for the herbs has already been transferred to his bank card. The young man asks for help with a pair of powerful radios, to which he receives consent. A guy with glasses is thinking about renting his own place to make the transition to another world easier. The guy enthusiastically promises to show everyone his magical things and earn 100,000 taels in 10 days. He says with a smile on the street that science will show miracles for 100,000 toils, and a little girl calls him crazy. The girl with blue hair looks tired, and her friend notices bags under her eyes. The girl, with her face buried in the table, says that Shu Fei's neighbor reported that Shu Fei had been living in a hotel near the school town for the past 2 days. A friend with short hair indignantly asks if this guy cheated on her. The girl is sure that the guy has his reasons, because he is not that kind of person. She thoughtfully says that if he wanted something adult, he would have just come to her, and her friend emotionally remarks that she thinks too much about him. A woman looks into the room and tells Chu Qian that Shu Fei is looking for her. The short-haired friend says she can't have lunch with Jia, upsetting her with her refusal. The girl quickly leaves, apologizing to her friend and promising to treat her next time. A girl with short hair is discontentedly thinking that for her friend, love is more important than friendship, and a guy in a green sweater appears next to her. The girl with short hair is amazed and asks herself why she immediately thought of this guy. The guy in the green sweater is surprised why someone remembers him and sneezes. A guy with a backpack on his shoulder is walking down the street and hears someone calling him. A girl with blue hair happily rushes to hug a guy on a city street. A guy tells a girl with a touching expression that he missed her and then gives her a gift. The guy says he's not sure if she'll like the gift, but he thinks it suits her, and the girl is happy with her first gift from him. The girl unpacks the box and admiringly promises to take care of the jewelry. She happily asks the guy to put this necklace on her, and he tenderly fulfills her request. Shu Fei receives a phone call at the most unexpected moment, and Chu apologizes a little sheepishly, but is asked to answer the call first. On the other end of the call, his mother informs him that she and his father just arrived and are heading to see him at a university, and Shu Fei wonders why they came if he was planning to return next week. Mom replies that she came with her father to meet his girlfriend and make sure that she is real. Shu Fei awkwardly says that they just started dating, and his mother suspects that he just doesn't want to introduce them. Then he tries to object that they just got off the train, but they are interrupted by the phrase that they are already getting on the bus. Mom assures that she will meet with him and his girlfriend. A purple-haired boy in the student council tensely addresses the president, and another boy admits that he tried to blackmail someone, but to no avail. The purple-haired boy reminds him that his family is also prestigious and asks if he was too offensive to Chu Qian. The blonde guy on the couch explains that Shu Fei really likes Chu Qian and suggests that Shu Fei and this girl will not be too friendly when they first meet in the summer. The blonde man is determined to become the heir of the Gao family by marrying Chu Qian, but he can't do anything about it now. The friend asks what to do next, and the blonde man says that he heard that Shu Fei's parents were coming. The blonde man, in the blue suit, says that since he was humiliated, he will see if his rival can bear the humiliation of his parents. The purple-haired boy notes that as long as Chu is around, they can't do anything about Shu Fei. The blonde looks at his phone and thinks that this time everything will be different, and Chu's presence is to his advantage. The blonde calls Aunt Zia and says he wants to talk to her. The bus pulls up, and Shu Fei's mother waves and calls him, saying that they are already there. Shu Fei and Chu Qian walk over and politely greet their aunt and uncle. Shu Fei's mother admiringly tells Chu Qian that she is a very beautiful girl and suggests that her son was persuading Chu to date him. Chu Qian smiles and takes the bag, saying that Auntie is joking, and Mom asks Shu Fei to carry the bag. Mama Chu leads the girl by the arm and asks the guy to take the bag for his uncle, inviting everyone into the restaurant at the entrance. Shu Fei's father smiles and tells his son that he has a wonderful girlfriend. There is a blonde man and a blue-haired girl sitting in the car, and he points out what is happening to his aunt, and she calls Shu Fei a liar, claiming that he took the $1 million check and is still pestering Chu Qian. The family and Chu Qian are at the table, discussing how good the restaurants are in big cities. The brown-haired woman says that Shu Fei and Chu Qian are good students and invites them to dinner. The waiter announces that a VIP room has been ordered and paid for them, inviting them to enjoy the meal. Mom wonders why this restaurant takes prepayment, since people usually pay after eating. The father calmly explains that there are many such restaurants in big cities, and the mother worries that Chu paid for everyone, although they wanted to treat them. Chu Chen smiles and asks not to worry, suggesting to eat to your health. Mom tells Shu Fei that he is a student and does not earn money, so she will send him money for living expenses later. Father thanks Chu for helping Shu Fei recently and asks if it's true that she's the heir to the Xia family. Mother thinks she only said that on the phone to reassure them. Chu Chen confidently confirms that she is indeed the heir of the Xia family. Shu Fei's mother says that their simple family cannot even dream of their son marrying the heiress of the Xia company, who is shown on the news every day, and Shu Fei himself indignantly asks not to talk about the wedding. Chu Chen calmly says that if her aunt and uncle do not approve of the marriage, she is willing to give up her inheritance. Shu Fei sheepishly explains to Chu that his mother was just joking and shouldn't be taken seriously. Mom assures that as long as they are happy together, she will be satisfied with any status the girl has. The blue-haired girl is surprised to see her mother, while Shu Fei greets Aunt Xia. The woman with blue hair and a stern face is sharply indignant at being called auntie and asks who he is to address her like that. Chu Chen tries to stop her mother because Shu Fei's parents are here, and she demands to let her go. The blue-haired woman says she came to see what kind of parents could raise such a shameful son, and Shu Fei's family reacts with anxious silence. The woman with brown hair suggests sitting down and talking about it over dinner. The blue-haired woman replies with disdain that if it weren't for the first meeting, she and her family would have no right to be in this restaurant at all. Shu Fei's mother smiles awkwardly and says that their family can afford to pay for the food. The woman with blue hair demands the waiter to tell her how much the family spent on lunch. Chu Chen asks his mother to stop the scandal and suggests that they talk about it at home. The woman with blue hair insists that the waiter should immediately announce the amount. The waiter announces that the family spent 23,508 yuan, and everyone's expressions turn shocked. Shu Fei's mother asks Chu in confusion if she is really the heir to the Xia company, and she sheepishly confirms. The blue-haired woman declares that the son of common people is not worthy of her daughter, who is on a different level. Shu Fei's mother, trying not to show her emotions, orders her husband to go to the bank and return the money for dinner. Chu Qian excitedly explains that she just wanted to treat them and her mother to some delicious food and didn't have anything else in mind. Shu Fei reassures Chu Qian that his parents will understand her intentions correctly. Shu Fei tells his parents that he will take care of everything himself and ask a neighbor to take them, and his mother assures him that she will always help her son. Chu Qian's mother reminds him of the million with an icy gaze and asks Shu Fei's parents why their son is pestering her daughter after taking the million from her. Chu Qian asks her mother who brought her here, and she replies that it doesn't matter because Shu Fei has already taken the money. Chu Qian calls Gao Yang, and her mother insists that it's time to deal with the liar, Shu Fei. Chu Qian orders the investment department to withdraw the Gao family's investment in the new project over the phone, and his mother demands immediate execution. The mother is indignant, considering the project very promising and claiming that her daughter is losing a lot, but Chu Qian insists that as the heiress of the Xia company, she is sure of this, even if her mother is a relative. The mother admits with confusion that Chu is blinded by her feelings. The mother, hiding her worries, tells her daughter that they will talk at home and tells her to hang up. The mother leaves, noting to herself that the Xia family could really raise such a person. After all, this is her upbringing. Chu Qian bows deeply and sincerely apologizes to her aunt and uncle for her mother's behavior, calling her rude. The woman anxiously asks if Xiaofei really took $1 million from Chu Qian's family. The girl with blue hair answers that she will sort everything out, and her mother calls her to the side, hurrying. The young man with glasses says that he cannot blame his sister for what happened, and that she needs to go. The girl leaves the room, saying goodbye and asking to call. The young man is asked if what Chu said is true, and he admits that it is. The woman asks again about the million, the young man remains silent, and the man assures that they will return the rest and advises to stay away from the girl. The young man promises to take care of everything and not leave the girl as long as his sister likes her. The woman asks if he really wants to live like this forever and reminds him of her family's cold attitude towards him. The young man says that he understands her words, but he still likes the girl. The woman resolutely asks him to stop communicating with the girl and return everything he owes. The young man says that everything is different now and he has the opportunity to be with his sister. A woman asks a man to hand over a bank card. The bank card intended for his wedding is given to the young man, allowing him to make his own decisions. The woman asks for only one thing, not to take advantage of people and to do everything with a clear conscience. The young man is surprised and thinks about his mother. Relatives are knocking on the door. The guy with red hair and Yan Ming's neighbor come in and meet his mother, and his friend reproaches the hero for not warning him about his parents' arrival. The woman kindly remarks that Shu Fei talked a lot about the boys. Yan Ming claims that he has always looked after Shu Fei, while the second friend jokes that it is the other way around. A young man in a green jacket approaches them, greets the aunt and uncle, and asks the girl's name. He says that he came at the request of his sister to keep the hero and his parents company, and the hero himself is sad that the girl's family finds it difficult to accept him. The young man says that before he just wanted to make money, but now he has a goal. The friend looks at him carefully and begins to guess his desires. The hero enthusiastically admits that he wants to build a business empire that is no less powerful than Xia's company. A friend suddenly says that he will help him with this. The hero expresses surprise, thinking that he will be considered a dreamer. The friend replies with a smile that people should always dream. The hero lies on the bed, thinking about the day spent with his parents, who were still worried, and his mother did not call again after returning home. He thinks that all the items for the auction were bought thanks to the assistant, and plans to first win the dispute in the other world and then return back. The hero wakes up in another world in traditional clothes and says with relief that he has returned. He is met by a grey-haired man who excitedly exclaims about the hero's return, and the hero himself jokes that he almost sent him back. The old man, with tears in his eyes, is glad that the hero has finally returned. The hero asks with a slight smile if he was afraid that he had escaped. The old man assures his loyalty, and the hero jokingly advises him to be honest with himself. The old man hopefully asks whether the hero succeeded in what he had planned. The hero kindly promises to show everything and asks not to worry. At the house of Marquise Zhenbei, an old servant reports that he has sold the deeds for the shops, but is still missing 3,000 tiles. A woman with red hair, looking out the window, offers to sell her dragon halberd for 3,000. The servant, confused, reminds her that this is her favorite weapon. The woman firmly tells him to act, and he reluctantly agrees. Somewhere in the palace, another man reports to the prince that the dragon halberd is ready. The dragon halberd is carried to Wang Yun's chamber of commerce. The man with long crimson hair is surprised that the family sold not only their property, but even their halberd for this. One of the officials explains that Huangfu Shangyan was selling off the household's property to raise money for Shu Fei, and the advisor congratulates the prince. The fall of the Marquise's family will give an advantage to their king. The crimson-haired man laughs loudly, calling Shu Fei a real loser. In the Chamber of Commerce itself, a dragon halberd is displayed on display, and young master Yun Tian regretfully notes that the Marquise had to give up even her favorite weapon, emphasizing her devotion to her husband. The servant asks Yun Tian if they need help, since no one in the Huangfu family can resist the conspiracies on their own. Yun Tian replies that it is not beneficial for them to support a weakening family, including because of the stupid Marquise. Yun Tian thinks, if the Wan Yun Chamber of Commerce wants to sell something, the main thing is the meaning of the offer. The servant agrees that this needs to be spread so that everyone knows, which means the problem is that Shu Fei often causes trouble in the city. Yun Tian smiles and notes that Shu Fei is indeed an interesting person. Yun Tian watches from the window and thinks that if Shu Fei really displays the divine items, it will be exciting. The old man is amazed to realize that such divine things really exist. The old man, amazed, asks the hero if he is really immortal. The hero says with a slight grin that this can be said, and reminds how people doubted him before. Frightened, the old man falls to his knees, but the hero laughs and asks him to get up, ordering him to prepare for the auction and invite all the influential people of the capital. The hero enthusiastically declares that it is time to show everyone magic. A large crowd gathers in front of Huangfu Auction House. The building is decorated, and there is a festive atmosphere around. A prince appears in the crowd, and the heroine addresses him. The woman explains that one greets guests outside, while the other prepares inside, emphasizing the family nature of the event. She reminds the prince that the Huangfu family was great until he interfered. The woman says that the Huangfu family has remained the same, but Prince Zhaozheng remains silent in response. The hero looks out from behind the curtain and notices that there are many foreigners at the auction. His servant confirms that many people have gathered here and wants to communicate something important. The hero thinks that people do not want to see the disgrace of the Huangfu family, but promises that it will happen. The servants report to the woman that there are a lot of people from the capital in the hall, and the woman contemptuously calls them a bunch of scum. The king's arrival is announced with a shout, and the woman greets her uncle. The king sternly calls out to the heroine. He expresses dissatisfaction with the current situation and offers 3,000 taels to supply the army. The king says that the crown prince is very smart and reproaches the woman for not being more flexible towards him. She replies that she cannot support cruel ideas, even if she serves and protects the country. The king says that the woman's family could have remained neutral if her husband had not been too trusting and hasty. The king turns his back and declares that she is the same as her father, and the Huangfu family is unworthy of the capital. The servant tells the hero that almost everything is ready for the auction, and the marquise will be impressed. But the hero replies that he did not do this for her sake. The hero indifferently declares that it doesn't matter what her emotions are, or even 100,000, because he's not going to stay with her. The old man asks in surprise why the hero speaks like that, since the marquise is sincerely devoted to him. The hero responds with a counter-question. If this is so, why doesn't she believe him and listen to him? The hero admits that he is immortal and does not belong to this world. His home is in another world. The crowd begins to get nervous and demands that the auction begin quickly, inquiring about the promised divine items. The woman demands to see the lot, emphasizing that the royal family does not deceive. In another corner of the room, the prince and his advisor are laughing at the situation. The woman demands that the people making noise state their names and reminds them that this is her auction house. The man smiles mysteriously, noting that Marquise Zhenbei is still herself. Zhao Yu, the fourth prince, surrounded by the pink-haired woman, hears that the capital's aristocracy would not dare to get involved with this marquise, even to offend the prince. The woman looks up in irritation as those present discuss Prince Zhao's surprise. Prince Yu notes that none of his brothers will intervene, and muses that if the marquise had been more flexible, her family would not be here, with the current situation being beneficial to the brothers. He deftly crushes the grape, saying that it is good to destroy what you cannot obtain. The pink-haired woman agrees that the prince does indeed have a good grasp of the situation in the capital. Prince Yu says with interest that he would like to take a look at Shu Fei of the Huangfu family himself. The servant advises the marquise to simply give 100,000 taels to her husband. The advisor explains that the dispute between the spouses concerned profit, and the proceeds from the auction would become profit. If the marquise gave the money to her husband, it would give rise to many rumors. After this, Shu Fei comes out to the audience and declares that it is time to immediately move on to showing things, so as not to waste time and speak only on the merits. He solemnly presents the first divine object, promising light without fire, and removes the veil to the astonished glances of the maids and the public. Having revealed the secret, he shows a shining lantern on a tray and proudly proclaims it to be a magical lantern, leaving the audience confused. The crowd starts laughing loudly and incredulously asks if this thing is really considered a divine treasure. The white-haired aristocrat, thoughtfully touching his chin, acknowledges the novelty of the object, but is indignant at being called divine. Suddenly, the girl shouts out a bet of 5,000 taels, astonishing everyone present. Two men in the crowd whisper to each other, calling the bid crazy and suspecting that the seller is buying his own goods. The guard with a sword menacingly asks who dared to speak ill of the marquis. The two scoffers smirk, declaring that the marquise is forced to personally participate in the bidding to save the face of the owner, and call it a disgrace. The hero, looking behind the scenes and saying, "Let's begin," gives the signal to continue the performance. The old man orders the lights to be turned off and the windows to be covered with curtains, and the servant immediately carries out his orders. The guests in the hall begin to panic, asking questions of each other and demanding protection for the king and prince. One of the characters gets everyone's attention by shining a bright flashlight into the room, explaining that it is just a scientific invention. The shocked spectators discuss what they saw, wondering what else might surprise them. A man with long blonde hair announces the price, 8,000. A man in traditional clothing doubts whether the item could really be worth 8,000 and suggests that there might be glowing stones inside. The young man explains that the glowing stones never shine so brightly. He adds that if such a remarkable stone really existed, it would be difficult to find, and remarks that those present suspect some trick. The protagonist hands a flashlight to an elderly servant and asks him to show it to the guests in the front rows. One of the men asks incredulously if it is possible that this is not a trick, but a real divine object. The two excited men discuss that if this item is real, then they have encountered a dangerous enemy and possibly the owner of the Huanfu family's treasure. An elderly man shows off the lantern to guests in the front row, and one of them is surprised at how light it is, noting that it is not stone. The guest is delighted that the lantern can be controlled without using fire. A black-haired young man, with a satisfied expression on his face, thinks about how nice it is to see the stunned faces of the audience. The old man informs the two important guests that by Xu Fei's order, they are not allowed to watch this. One of the guests is outraged by this ban. Another reacts calmly, and the red-haired woman notices that the main character still blames her. The two men in the audience are delighted, finding the item incredible and noting that Xu Fei is truly amazing. An elderly man approaches Mr. Yun and invites him to look at the lantern. The man with long white hair notes that the object is so exquisite that it deserves to be called divine. An elderly man asks Li to try to light a lantern, and he agrees to do so. Everyone admires the sky lantern and discusses that this item seems to belong to the Yun family. A young man asks Lao Fu about the meaning of the lantern and is told that whoever lights it can buy it for any amount. The young man understands the rule, and the older man remembers how long ago this lantern was in the auction house. A girl and a man look at a glowing object, discussing its price, and noting that this is only the first lot. An angry man is outraged by the low bid for an item, while another warns against dealing with the Wan Yun Chamber of Commerce. The fair-haired man shares his opinion that the whole situation is caused by simple curiosity and not a desire to help the royal family. The man with a serious face admits that he came to watch the main character disgrace himself, but now he finds himself in the center of attention. The young man announces that for 12,000 taels, this item will go to Mr. Yun and prepares to show the second divine item, which turns everything into a painting. The protagonist asks one of the guests to come closer and shows a photo of the Huanfu auction house. The intrigued guests look at the photograph, amazed that it is indeed a painting, and ask to be shown. The protagonist remarks that even a great artist could not create such a painting, and mentions that one such photograph costs 1,000 taels. He announces to the crowd that every visitor to the auction house will receive one of these paintings, causing surprise among the public. The surprised guests ask again if everyone will really receive something, and old Lao confirms his words. The characters wonder if Xu Fei is really giving away a valuable item so easily, but the other replies that he is not stupid, but very smart. One of the men notes with admiration that the main character is truly something amazing. The girl asks why he thinks so, expecting an explanation. A man with long blue hair reasons that people strive for fame and fortune, and 1,000 taels for a photo is a small profit. The protagonist points out that if there are too many of these paintings, they won't be worth money, and thus he makes a name for himself for such a low price. The girl notes that with such a person, it will be much easier for the Huanfu family to cope with difficulties. The character addresses the audience and moves on to tell the story of the next divine object, which can turn everything into a picture, causing people to be surprised and ask questions. Several guests discuss how the Wang Yun Chamber of Commerce has already lit the sky lantern twice, and one of the spectators declares that he will fight for the miracle item if it really turns everything into a painting. The main character takes a photo from a camera, surprising those present with the magical appearance of a photograph with the guests' faces. The guests exclaim that the painting really did appear directly from this object, and begin to actively place bets from 10 to 50,000, while the protagonist calls it the second divine object. The woman asks the man with the fan his opinion, and he admits that he cannot evaluate the paintings because they seem too pretentious to him. The man, apprehensively, remarks that he would like to see the expression on his brother, the prince's face. The fair-haired young man assures his interlocutor that he will definitely find out the origin of all these things. The man strictly warns that it is better to fulfill the promise, otherwise the consequences will be unpleasant. The main character host announces a bet of 130,000 and adds that if no one bids more, the item will go to the winner. Two viewers discuss that the amount has already reached 130,000, and even 1,000 for one painting seems huge, while advising not to spend all the money. The white-haired man thanks everyone for their kindness and expresses his appreciation by bowing to the audience. The auctioneer lowers the gavel and happily congratulates Mr. Yun on his victory, scattering petals in celebration. The fair-haired young man says in despair that 2 items have already gone for hundreds of thousands, and blames this hero for his loss of the blooming pavilion. The host announces the next lot and promises a real sensation among the guests. Spectators are eagerly discussing whether the next item will be a device for long-distance communication and are eagerly awaiting it. The influential man firmly declares that if the next item is truly genuine, he is obliged to buy it. The prince asks his sister to lend him money, and she smiles slyly, emphasizing that he loses his dignity by calling her sister. Another lit sky lantern appears on the stage, and those seated comment that the Yun family has activated the lantern again. The man in blue asks the young gentleman, puzzled, why he is buying without seeing the item, not understanding such determination. The wise man with white hair reflects that the previous 2 divine items were great, but this one is still much more valuable. The grey-eyed man asks the marquise how useful the new thing is, and she reasons that an army that can see the enemy and control the battlefield is practically invincible. The man with long silver hair says regretfully that if the Genbei army had such a miraculous item, they would have won many battles. The red-haired woman reasons that if this item is truly capable of transmitting messages over 100 miles, then it is incredibly valuable. 2 men, one holding a fan and the other in armor, decide that such a divine object must be theirs. The protagonist removes the cover from the black box and presents the last divine object to the public. He pulls out the antenna, takes the microphone in his hand, and begins testing the device, addressing the audience and asking if they can hear him. Using the device, he contacts people in the distance and hears a report about arriving in the city of Shuzhen and continuing on to the north. The man in the blue robe says in surprise that the city of Shuzhen is 80 miles away and requires several days of horse riding to get there. The protagonist claims that if he had not been in a hurry, the device could have communicated over a distance of over 800 miles. The shocked listeners exclaim in surprise when they realize that they are talking about 800 miles. The presenter explains that it would normally take a month and a half to cover such a distance, but the device transmits the message instantly, making it incredibly useful for business and the military. To operate the radio device, the main character prepared a battery in advance and brought it with him to demonstrate its autonomous operation. Brightly lit sky lanterns with different hieroglyphs appear in the sky, and the audience recognizes the prince's lantern and the king's lantern among them. One of the guests notices the Yun family's sky lantern with admiration, noting that even the Hao family lit theirs, much to the surprise of the others, while the protagonist watches from below. The old man celebrates Chufei's achievement of 13 sky lanterns being lit at the same time, something that has never happened before, and is invited to leave with him. The man with the moustache asks again carefully whether he is really being asked to go together, surprised by such a proposal. The protagonist calmly replies that he agrees to give 100,000 taels to the Huangfu family in exchange for freedom. Then he asks the old man not to rush with an answer, because the auction is not over yet, and the most important thing is ahead. The hero loudly announces the start of the bidding for the 3rd divine item. The starting price is 300,000, thereby causing a stir in the hall. A strong expression of irritation and determination appears on the girl with fiery red hair, who firmly states that the Huangfu family will not sell this item, while the faces of the other characters express anxiety and tension. The black-haired protagonist is taken aback by the girl's sudden actions when she rushes to explain that she will tell him everything later, which leads to increased tension in what is happening. A woman with long red hair supports a limp young man in her arms, while a man in a cloak watches closely from behind. Several men in traditional dress react to what is happening with surprise and concern, discussing the situation among themselves. The woman says that if she said we won't sell, then they won't sell. An elderly man announces that the auction is over and asks everyone to disperse. 2 men in the crowd begin discussing where to pick up their things after the event is over. The woman with red hair turns away silently, while the man with grey hair announces that he will take someone to the young master. One of the men sighs in disappointment, and the other notes that it is not even worth trying to buy the painting while the woman is taking care of the exhausted young man and saying his name. A mature man in fancy clothes tells a woman with red hair that he was wrong about her husband. The woman wishes her uncle to take care of himself, and the young man is ordered to take the last item back to the Northern Army, after which she says that she will take it to the house herself. The man with long hair calls her name as he comes closer. The man with long blue hair says he would like to meet him in person, while the young man with dark hair remains unconscious. The young man wakes up in the marquise's house and wonders whether he was at the auction. The red-haired woman tells the young man that she gave Huang Qi the order to knock him out. The young man remembers what happened and looks seriously ahead. The woman with red hair asks the young man if he knows what would happen if he sold the third item, and he realizes that she is talking about a radio station. The young man explains that he doesn't know what would have happened, he just wanted to make money, and believes that the radio station could have been sold for a very high price. The young man regrets that he was unable to get the money and accuses the woman of stealing his radio, expressing distrust of her and her family. The young man sharply tells her not to blame his family, asking what she is going to do. The woman with red hair admits guilt for the situation and promises that this is the last time. The young man says that this time he has a solution and wonders whether he will be punished or imprisoned again. The red-haired woman promises to help the young man even if he cannot fulfill the terms of the bet, emphasizing that being a spouse is not just words. The young man says that the radio station is his gift and the proceeds from the auction are the price for his freedom. The sword is pulled out of its sheath with a gleam and sharply rushes towards the young man. The woman says firmly that they cannot get a divorce, holding a sword pointed at the interlocutor. The young man looks at her and tells her to kill him then. The woman is shocked at first, then looks down sadly, says that she was wrong, and tells him to do what he wants, but adds that they will not get divorced. The woman, turning away, calls the young man by name and promises to return the money for the auction. The boy stands next to her, and then thinks with relief that he thought she would actually kill him, feeling his heartbeat resume. The young man walks through the house and thinks that he still has to find a way to get out of here. The young man goes outside and, shielding himself from the light with his hand, is surprised by the sun. The young man is amazed to realize that he has not returned to his world, and that the second day has already passed. He wonders why he always passed into another world in his sleep before, but this time it didn't happen, and at that moment an elderly man hurries towards him. The young man asks the old man what happened, and he replies that he went into the room, but he was not there. The old man reports that Qian Renze is waiting for the young man in the main hall, and the young man remembers that he owes him his pavilion. The young man greets Qian happily and apologizes for the long wait, to which Qian responds by calling him by name. Qian, dressed in green, admires the young man and admits that he has opened his eyes. The young man calls Qian too kind, and he hands over a document, clarifying that it is the land deed of the 100 Flowers Pavilion, and admits that he lost the bet. The young man smiles and says that Brother Qian is very polite in accepting the document. Qian looks at the young man closely and says that he has a question. The young man guesses that Qian wants to know about the origin of modern objects, and he himself confirms this. The young man whispers to Qian that it is all because of the Hongfu family, and promises to tell him more later so that his wife does not find out anything. The young man admits that although he knows his wife well, he does not understand why she did this. Qian thanks the young man for his explanation, says goodbye and leaves, and the young man wishes him to take care of himself. The young man reflects that he is tired, but now he can leave the Marquise's house and have a livelihood, and the old man tells him that the Pavilion of 100 Flowers is a famous brothel that brings in a lot of profit. A young man with a paper in his hands offers to look at a brothel, but the old man anxiously advises not to go there yet. The cartwheel is spinning, and at this time Qian is seriously telling the other person that the guy is deceiving them, and it would be better to get busy organizing the holiday. The servant remarks that it is not proper for the Marquise's husband to visit a brothel, but the young man says that this will just make his wife throw him out, and another servant greets him. The old man asks what family will take him in if the Marquise kicks him out, to which the young man replies that it is even better for him because he does not want to live here. A carriage is driving along the road, driven by a warlike man with a sword, covered with a wide-brimmed hat. The old man points out that this carriage belongs to His Highness Prince Zhao Yu, and the young man asks in surprise who he is. The young man says that he is going to the pavilion and is not there for the others, and the butler, in a panic, warns that the prince may kill him. The prince steps out of the carriage and smiles, assuring that even if he had the courage, he would not dare to kill the Marquise Zhenbei's husband. The butler bows respectfully before the prince, then calls the young man with concern. The young man asks if he should kneel down too, and the butler asks him to stop, embarrassed. The prince says that there is no need to kneel, because the husband of the Marquise of Zhenbei is not obliged to do so, and the young man invites the prince to wait for the Marquise inside. The young man thinks that he needs to find a way to leave the capital, because influential people are hindering him. The prince openly declares that he is not looking for the Marquise, but for the young man, because he heard about his plans to visit the pavilion and would like to go together. The young man is surprised that the prince wants to go to the pavilion with him. The prince assures the butler that the young man will go with him, and the old man agrees with relief Then the coachman gives the command to go. The butler watches the carriage leave, wondering what the prince really wants, while the young man asks the prince what the conversation was about and clarifies whether it is about divine objects. The prince with the fan says that Qian Renzi has asked a similar question before, and they both have similar goals. The prince adds with a slight smile that perhaps he is a little more impudent than Qian, and the young man is surprised at his directness. The young man insists that his interlocutor misunderstood and claims that all the divine objects were from Huanfu. The prince admits that he doesn't really care about the origin of these items. He just wants to talk and offers to become friends. The young man asks whether the prince wants him to follow him or whether he is trying to enlist the support of the marquise. The prince explains that as crown prince, he is not interested in supporting the marquise because it is dangerous, and gives the young man a gift. The young man, with a slight smile, says that although he is going to the pavilion, he considers himself too young for this experience. The prince responds by discussing the foundation pill and asking how it relates to the 100-flower pavilion. The young man asks again with surprise about the foundation pill. The coachman with an eye patch announces that they have arrived at the 100-flower pavilion. The prince notes that, as expected, the other party is not a martial artist, and the other party admits that he does not know about things like the foundation pill. The prince asks the young man if he knows anything about martial arts masters, causing him to be surprised. The prince demonstrates his skill by releasing energy streams from his hand and delivering a powerful blow to the stone. The prince invites the young man to try to do the same with the statue, and the young man looks at him doubtfully. The young man touches the statue, makes an effort, strains, but nothing works. The prince explains that there are 4 levels of martial arts in the world: body tempering, bone purification, mind cultivation, and martial saint, and each level has 3 layers. The prince, holding out the box, says that people who do not train hard can immediately achieve the first layer of body tempering if they take the pill. The excited young man asks if he will be able to move the statue after this, receives confirmation, and expresses admiration and delight. The prince laughs and notes that the young master is indeed interesting, even more interesting than the others. The prince notices that the house of 100 flowers is well built, but all the flowers have already been taken by Qian Renzi, and the young man exclaims in amazement, looking at the empty and decorated building. The guy with a shocked face says that there is nothing left, and the man with long hair consoles him, promising to bring everything. The man with long hair turns around and explains that it will be easy to come to an agreement. The guy happily thanks her, but suddenly hears that someone shouldn't worry about her husband's problems. A woman with red hair appears with a horse and promises to help bring back the flowers and the women. The main character sternly says that she warned about safety in the capital. A girl asks a guy if he is mad at her for visiting a brothel. The woman with a stubborn look is indignant that the guy can't come to where all the princes and courtiers go. The guy with the upset look thinks that it doesn't matter what he does. The woman demands the audience's attention by declaring that the guy is her husband and threatening the other women. The girls bow and agree with the order, but the guy is shocked by what is happening. The woman with long red hair on the horse says to come early in the evening because she will cook dinner. The guy leaves the house and looks after the rider who has left. A man with long hair notices that the entire capital is discussing the new status of the marquise and asks if the guy is jealous, advising him to marry her. The woman with grey hair tells the sisters to live as before. Another girl says that in a couple of days the house of 100 flowers will open. The guy clarifies that it is no longer a brothel because the house of 100 flowers now sells things. Against the backdrop of the sunset, someone shouts, asking what the marquise is doing, and the men lying on the floor look defeated. The man in the hat tells the young gentleman that the mercenaries are worth more than the building, but he angrily disagrees. The man in the hat asks, and the guy in the golden robe with a surprised face calls this man father. The bearded man sternly reminds the other that the entire capital now knows that he has given up the building to the marquise's husband and asks if he knows who Marquise Genboy is. The man continues his instruction, saying that he has no problem with him following the prince, but asks him not to do anything unnecessary in the future. The purple-robed man says that Huangfu Shenan is not as simple as she seems, and the Huangfu family cannot be destroyed, and the blonde man with a serious face agrees. The blonde muses that she is younger than him, but is respected due to the Huangfu family's reputation, wondering what gives her such a right. In the house of 100 flowers, the main character is in charge of the work, and the workers are sure that they will complete everything in 3 days. The guy in blue asks the prince with long hair why he is still here. On the rooftop, under the sunset sky, 2 warriors make plans and decide to deal with the swordsman first. The masked warriors attack with a shout, but are surprised by the swordsman's unexpected resistance. The swordsman counterattacks, disappears from their line of attack, and reappears from above, while the enemies are outraged and scared. The swordsman notices to himself that he didn't even need to draw his sword, and defeats his enemies with a simple movement. In the next shot, the knight with the wide-brimmed hat and his rivals break through the wall, causing chaos inside the building. The boy notices a noise in the street, but the prince reassures him that it could just be a dog or a cat. The man in the big hat addresses the prince and his companions, after which they decide to send Mr. Shu back home in a carriage. The marquise's house is illuminated by moonlight, and a servant greets the protagonist with news of a prepared dinner. The hero reflects that he cannot think about food. He needs to find a way to distance himself from the marquise, and yet he returns home. The guy is delighted with the girl's outfit, and she says with a smile that she cooked the food for him with her own hands, and invites him to sit down. The guy asks the girl about her unusual outfit, and she explains that she rarely wears such clothes because of business and wars. Against the backdrop of the soup, the girl promises to try to be more like a wife, and suggests always having dinner together. The guy wants to talk about divorce, but she restrainedly repeats that she made the soup with her own hands. The guy explains that he doesn't want to get divorced because of a misunderstanding, but he already has someone he liked before. The girl says in a reserved manner that she is full and asks him to eat, after which she squeezes the cup until it breaks into pieces, and the guy apologizes in his thoughts, but notes that he told her the truth. At Prince Jiayu's house, they discuss under the moon why there are such high expectations for one hero, and note that the Huangfu family is truly on the verge of collapse. The man with long blue hair says that this Shu Fei can change the fate of the Huangfu family. The white-haired man reasons that even in this case, the foundation pill is too expensive, showing how rare it is. The man thinks that if he gives the pill to the person from the Huangfu family, he will gain his loyalty. The man says with a smile that he considered Shu Fei his friend, but he completely ignores statuses and communicates easily with him. He admits that he has always loved silence and would not want to take part in the chaos of the capital if it were not for his mother's family. The man with the blindfold asks if the prince really does not intend to fight for the throne. At this time, a guy with dark hair sits in the house and admits that he has no appetite. The old man advises the young master to rest, noting that the marquise will remain in the military camp today. He was told to give 2 baskets of herbs to him to save him the trouble of searching for them. The guy asks if the old man knew that he needed this. The hero opens the box of jewels and learns that the marquise sold the family property for his victory and collected a large sum. The protagonist reflects that he cannot blame Huangfu Shenan for her distrust of him. The old man tells the hero that the marquise is truly devoted to him. The hero asks the old man to take 100,000 and buy back all the property of the Huangfu family that was sold. The young man says that he will not be in the city, asks not to let anyone near the house. The old man asks how many days the hero will be gone, and then speaks of the imminent return of His Majesty and the Marquise's feast. The hero confidently replies that he knows and promises not to harm either the old man or the Huangfu family. Lying on the bed, the hero thinks that now he doesn't know if he will be able to return, and tries to fall asleep. The hero's phone starts ringing and a voice says, "Shu Fei, you haven't been in touch for a long time." The guy wonders how long he's been gone. After a short conversation, he agrees to meet when he is about to leave the hotel. The hero reflects that one day in that world is equal to half a day here, but now 2 days have passed there and 1 day here. He understands that time flows differently in the 2 worlds, and his body experiences double the load. The hero is alarmed to realize that at this rate, he will begin to age much earlier, and painfully thinks about what to do. Suddenly, he remembers about the foundation pill that can help. The guy is found lying in the hospital under artificial respiration. A girl with blue hair runs into his room in a panic, begging him to wake up. A guy wakes up in a hospital and calls his sister in surprise, but she asks him not to get up. She explains with alarm that she found him in his hotel room covered in blood. The boy remembers that he swallowed the foundation pill that the prince gave him, after which he lost consciousness. The doctor tells the girl that everything is fine with Zhu's body, and even on the contrary, it has become better than before. The young man learns that the analysis of bloodstains at the hotel showed the presence of impurities, not blood itself, which is a rarity in medicine. A girl asks the doctor if her brother's health has improved and receives a positive answer while her brother is sitting on the bed. Lying under the blanket, the guy feels the flow in his body and for the first time feels so relaxed and comfortable. The girl happily hugs the young man, promising to peel the apples for him, and he thanks her. In the courtyard of the family mansion, Gao Yang engages in conversation with his father, who chides him for his recent failures. Gao Yang tries to explain his position, but his father abruptly interrupts him and reminds him of the need to marry a certain girl for the sake of the family business. A surprised Gao Yang hears that this is his last chance, otherwise he will be sent to study abroad. Gao Yang, in despair, realizes that if he leaves, he will lose his right to inheritance, and, bowing, submits to his father's will. In anger and despair, Gao Yang mentally curses Shu Fei. The young man decides to find a way to change her opinion of him. The girl assumes that her interlocutor is afraid of possible problems with her mother. The guy learns that the girl's parents went home accompanied by her brothers, and she asks someone to cover for him at the university. While the girl is peeling the apple, she says that she gave the herbs and box he brought to Chen Shu, to which he calls her a caring sister. The girl with a peeled apple in her hand calms the guy down, saying that she will not ask about his secrets, since she understands that he has his own reasons for doing so. Gao Yang's mother, Chen Ning, asks her husband at the family villa if he is putting too much pressure on their son. The head of the Gao family explains that their family is different from others in that they strictly select their heirs, which makes them stronger. Chen Ning sarcastically asks if the reason for the strict selection is the large number of illegitimate children her husband has. The husband confirms that it doesn't matter to him whether he is a legitimate heir or not. The main thing is his strength. Chen Ning angrily declares that being married to him is a punishment, which surprises him. The head of the Gao family objects to his wife, asking whether living in fame and fortune, while everyone respects her as Lady Gao, can be considered a punishment. Chen Ning leaves the room with a dissatisfied look, and the head of the family watches her go. The mother enters the hallway and meets Gao Yang, surprised by his presence at the door. Gao Yang confesses to his mother that he is convinced of the correctness of his father's philosophy and cannot afford to fail. He curses Chu Qian in his mind and decides to become the heir of the Gao family and marry her at all costs. Gao Yang desperately asks his mother to help him, but she reproaches her son for arguing with his brother, reminding him that she is the mother of both of them. Depressed, he asks his mother to take care of his brother. At this moment, his older brother Gao Zhen appears in the corridor, calmly telling his mother that he is okay and asking her to help his other brother. Gao Yang asks his brother in surprise if he really doesn't mind his actions. The elder brother says that Gao Yan should realize his own inability, adding that he is disgracing himself in front of everyone. Meanwhile, in the men's dormitory, the guy feels an unusual lightness in his body and is surprised by the effect of the pill he took. A guy comes back from the hospital and decides to try to jump up the stairs in one jump. With unexpected ease, he jumps over all the steps, causing surprise in the casual witness. Excited by his new abilities, he declines an invitation to join the sports club. Thinking about it, the guy wonders if this is really the effect of the foundation pill. At the dormitory, a joyful classmate greets him with a shout of his return. Once in the room, the guy hears from his neighbor that the others went to deal with the herbs they brought. A neighbor reports that Chu's sister has approached him to discuss opening a company, and the guy is surprised that everything is already planned. The neighbor explains that thanks to the sale of herbs and the help of his sister, the whole plan to create the company went smoothly. With these words, the neighbor hands the guy the details of the plans he had drawn up, to which he enthusiastically agrees to help. The guy smiles and says that he completely trusts the fourth brother. Chen Shu, looking tired, said that he could no longer work with Shu Fei. Shu Fei is surprised and asks why his brother is angry, and he explains that starting a company is a very serious matter that requires responsibility. Shu Fei sits thoughtfully at the table and reflects that despite the new opportunities to travel between worlds, his life has remained the same. He leafs through the papers and self-critically realizes that all the details of the company were thought out by Chen Shu, and he himself is not worthy of either him or his Chu Qian. At sunset, Chen Shu sits silently on the playground, lost in thought. A girl appears from the door and gently calls him by name. She, watching him from the side, wonders why this straightforward guy is sitting alone. Deciding to appear better, the girl checks in the mirror whether she looks normal. Suddenly she gets angry at herself, realizing that she is putting herself in order for someone else. Approaching Chen Shu, the girl asks him with a smile why he is not with that coward Shu Fei today. The guy asks the girl if she came specifically to see him, and she irritably replies that she just couldn't pass by and will leave right now. But when she starts to leave, he suddenly grabs her hand. The girl asks him, confused, what he is doing until he lets go of her hand. The guy calmly admits that he is in a bad mood today and asks to talk to her. The girl wonders why he chooses her to talk to, and he replies that everyone else is busy, which makes her feel inner rage. The guy says that he enjoys her company and keeps her around despite her apparent displeasure. The girl, not understanding her feelings, is angry with herself, and the guy asks what is happening to her. She admits that Shufei is her main problem and wonders why everyone is so attached to him, and the guy replies that Shufei is not a coward. The guy mentally reflects on Shufei's character, his responsibility and honesty in relationships, and making difficult decisions. The girl asks with gentle sadness why the guy still worries and is sad because of him. The guy confesses to the girl that he wanted to help Shufei start his own business, but perhaps he was too hasty with this decision. He says that now Shufei has a chance to catch up with the Xia company and be with Chu without any relationship problems. The girl skeptically notes that he is exaggerating. After all, Xia's company is huge. The guy explains that the company's market value is 13.5 billion, and its main business areas are real estate, jewelry, herbs, and shopping malls. The girl touches the guy's forehead and says that he might have a fever. Chenshu agrees that this sounds incredible, but says that people are capable of performing miracles. He adds that a real miracle may happen to Shufei. Meanwhile, Shufei is surprised that 2 days have already passed. A brother enters the room with food. When he saw Shufei, he said he didn't call, so as not to wake him up. Shufei eats the fruit and apologizes for his frivolity and for putting everything on his brother. The brother asks if Shufei has read all the plans, and he replies that he has read them 3 times. Shufei agrees that his brother is right. Everyone needs to think about their future and plan ahead. The brother decides to take an academic leave from the university to organize all the affairs. Shufei is surprised to clarify that his brother has always been focused on his studies, but he replies that there is no need to worry. The only reason for him to be at the university was to get a job. My brother says that if they don't get it done in a year, he'll just go back to school, but if everything works out, that'll be great. Shufei asks his brother if he is sure, adding that he would have done the same. The brother assures that there is no need for this, and asks Shufei to mind his own business and entrust the company to him. Shufei is surprised to realize that Qianshuo actually decided to help him against all odds. Shufei points out a point in the plan that they plan to process the herbs themselves in the future. Shufei says that if they start processing herbs on their own, they will have to stop cooperating with their senior and junior partners. The brother agrees and thinks that it is better not to work with them at all. He explains that the profit from raw materials is too small, and for the sake of the company's future, it is imperative to engage in its own processing of herbs. It is only a matter of time before the joint work ends. Shufei notes that by talking things through in advance, conflicts can be avoided, and is surprised that his brother was more open to dialogue than he expected, to which his brother suggests they discuss it later. At the Jia family villa, a car arrives and the gate opens. Gao Yang and his mother come to visit their relatives and greet the hostess. A woman with blue hair greets the guests and invites them inside. On the path, Gao's sister asks why she is called Mrs. Gao, and the 2 people joke around a bit in response. Inside, the table recalls that Shun Ping has recently become the head of the Gao family, and Gao Yang is still his deputy. The guests are asked to sit down and talk. Gao Yang asks with a smile, hasn't Grandpa Jia already recognized Chu as the heir, and wonders if this bothers Auntie. The woman points out that the Xia family is not just Chu Chen and herself, and believes that Chu Chen will have difficulty managing the entire company, since Chu's 2 younger brothers have sons, and one day the head of the family may have a new heir. The woman in the red jacket starts laughing out loud, and those around her take notice. The woman in red explains that her laughter is not caused by her interlocutor, but by the fact that Chu Chen is so young and needs help. The woman in red admits that she loves her younger son very much, so she recently transferred all of her shares and resources of the Chen family to Gao Yang. The blue-haired woman asks if she really gave all her resources to Gao Yang. The woman in red admits that she is afraid that Gao Yang will not be able to compete with his brother, so she came to help her son. The woman with blue hair asks if this is related to marriage, and her interlocutor confirms her guess with a smile, noting that the children have been friends since childhood. The woman in red explains that they have come to discuss the engagement ceremony. Gao Yang turns to his aunt and states that he has thought of everything regarding what will happen after the wedding. Gao Yang continues that after the wedding, he will become the heir of the Gao family, and he and Chu will have 2 sons. The woman with blue hair asks in surprise if all this is really true. Gao Yang tells his aunt with conviction that his feelings for her daughter are real, and that Chu needs him too. The woman in red confirms that now is the time when their families need each other the most, so there is no need to worry. The blue-haired woman thinks out loud that this is true and admits that she was enchanted by her interlocutor's son at first sight. She remembers that Chu Qian only thinks about the poor guy and resists the engagement with Gao Yan. The blue-haired woman adds that old man Xia cares about her daughter, and she can't force her. Gao Yang replies not to worry, and believes that since the two families agree, he will be able to get Chu Qian's consent. The woman in red harshly says that her daughter must not be harmed, and Gao Yang declares that he will not allow anyone to harm Chu even if he is exiled. Mentally, Gao Yang admits that he is using Shu Fei for his own benefit. When asked by the blue-haired woman, he clarifies that Shu Fei is Chu Qian's weak point, and if he convinces her to marry Gao Yang, everything will be fine. The blonde man asks not to accuse him of being aggressive, and the blue-haired woman replies that she has long wanted to teach this poor guy a lesson. Two friends in a dorm admire a well-designed business plan and joke about positions in the future company. The protagonist sheepishly apologizes for always talking about the plan once the heroes arrive. The guy explains that if he starts processing the herbs himself, he will no longer be able to supply them for further processing. His friends encourage him, saying that it is more profitable to process the herbs himself, and advise him not to worry and not to be a weakling. In another world, a girl sits thoughtfully under the moon on the veranda of the marquise's house. The girl is wounded by an arrow and is escorted by a cheerful guy who has brought her favorite wine again. The man looks at the lanterns flying in the night sky, saying that he is helping to raise money for the army, and notes that this is what he expected from the Huanu clan. The old man tells the girl that Shu Fei is not in the room, and she calmly agrees, after which he again thoughtfully looks at the night sky, reflecting on Shu's actions. The guy is surprised that they already have an office for the company, although they discussed the plan only yesterday. Another young man explains that Chu's sister helped him rent an office so quickly, formalizing everything officially. One character holds out a bunch of keys, and the other asks why there are so many of them. The young man in the green jacket says that his sister has rented 2 apartments near the university and suggests calling if she needs anything. The guy excitedly asks if he told his sister about his affairs. A friend reports that only 2 idiots in the hostel believe that the herbs were found in the mountains. The guy insists that the herbs really do come from the mountains, but his friend tells him not to tell fairy tales. The young man sadly thinks that the most important thing for him is to create a company with Chu, despite the fact that he is already tired of it. The friend confidently states that his goal is to make the company as big as Jia's, and the protagonist thanks him. Clothes are drying on the balcony of the women's dormitory. A girl with blue hair announces on the balcony that the clothes drying is finished. The girl with dark hair is surprised that she sees another girl on the balcony for the first time. From the room, a girl asks if it's true that Shu Fei has gone into business, and the interlocutor jokes about why her boyfriend suddenly started bothering her. The girl with black hair says it doesn't bother her, she was just asking. The girl clarifies that in fact her friend wanted to find out something about Qianshu. Another girl exclaims that she always knows everything and asks for details, and she tells him that Qianshu is helping Shu Fei open her own business. The girl with short blonde hair sadly admits that she only found out about Qianshu's break from school today. The girl invites her friend to participate in the internship this semester. The dark-haired girl categorically refuses, saying that she is still a student and cannot work under Qianshu. The girl smiles and says that she has a share in the company, offering her friend to become the vice president of personnel and recruitment. The girl with short dark hair dreamily agrees to help, noting that her entire motivation is to see Qianshu. The protagonist enters the room with a box and decides to get to work. A guy at a laptop is thoroughly studying production methods on different websites and taking notes. He finally prints out all the important materials and is sure that it will be useful to him in that world, although he feels tired. After a hard day of work, he goes to bed thinking that he doesn't know if he will be transported to another world today, but the bed seems very comfortable to him. Waking up in another world, the hero realizes that he has prepared well for the transition and is holding important documents. An elderly man bursts into his room with a joyful exclamation about the return of his master. The old man says that there will be a festive dinner tomorrow, and the hero just managed to return. The hero asks why the celebration is being held only now if the victory was a long time ago. The old man explains that it was all because the emperor was delayed due to his cultivation, which is why everything happened so late. The hero asks in surprise how the country is governed if the emperor is always busy with cultivation, and is it really true that not a single official of the dynasty protests? The old man suggests returning to this conversation later and asks the hero to try on the outfit for tomorrow's dinner to check if it fits. The hero appears in traditional costume with an abacus in his hands, demonstrating his determination, which surprises the old man. The hero receives the outfit, but is disappointed because it looks like a slave's clothing, and says that he doesn't really like this outfit. The hero explains to the old man that he cannot leave the building he won in his past life unattended, and is going to start a new business rather than sell rare treasures. He clarifies that the business will be done for the masses of people, not for the chosen few. The hero asks about the redemption of the property he asked to purchase. The old man reports that he was only able to buy back 5 of the 10 stores, since the Marquis sold the rest for cheap, and now it is impossible to buy them back. The hero decisively says that it is time to start a business, holding a camera in his hands. A custom portrait of a beautiful girl is offered for 20 tolls each. The old man asks what the hero is doing, and he happily replies that this idea will bring a lot of profit. The old man admits that everything is great, except that someone has already started implementing something similar, and the hero asks if it is the Yun Chamber of Commerce. The old man confirms his guess about the Yun Chamber of Commerce, and adds that it is not that simple. The servant reports that young Master Yun wants to see the hero, and he is surprised to note the exact coincidence. The old man suggests not to meet with this man if they are going to do the same business. The hero decisively says to invite young Master Yun to the main hall. The Marquise with bright red hair rides boldly on horseback with a bow in her hand during the Genbai army's training. The Marquise is a master of archery. The military admires her skills, and the arrow hits the center of the target. The Marquise stands proudly on the field with a bow in her hand, and the soldiers call her magnificent. The soldiers bring her a dragon halberd at the request of the Yun Chamber of Commerce. The man with long purple hair is surprised that the Chamber of Commerce returned the dragon halberd and wonders what they are planning. The soldiers explain that the Yun House's previous unwitting intervention was due to a difficult situation, and now, in order to improve relations with Lord Zhu, they are returning the halberd to the Marquise. The Marquise is asked when they can meet with her husband now that the weapons have been returned, noting that Mr. Shu has also raised their winter wages. The Marquise promises with a smile that she will bring him to the camp somehow. The Marquise rides away from the training on her horse, leaving another to continue the training, while the man watching her is slightly taken aback. At Marquise Genboi's house, a man notes that Mr. Shu has become even more energetic after being away for several days. The young gentleman, businesslike, explains that his interlocutor came for photo paper. The guest with white hair confirms that this is the paper in question and is surprised that Mr. Shu had guessed his wish in advance. Shu admits that he was planning to start his own business in paintings, but now he proposes to discuss mutually beneficial cooperation. Zhu decides to run this business in the capital and sell photo paper outside the city at 40% of the cost of the painting. The character with long white hair is surprised by the 40% price offered. Mr. Shu, with a slight smile, asks not to complicate things and reminds them that they are not at the market. Mr. Yun wonders how many divine items and photo paper Shu can supply to the Yunkai Chamber of Commerce. Zhu confidently replies that he can supply 30 cameras and 10,000 sheets of photographic paper, causing silent shock in Old Man Lao. Shu orders Old Man Lao to bring the equipment, and he agrees. Zhu explains to Yun that the divine item for quickly creating a painting is called a camera, and Yun understands everything. Old Man Lao says that this equipment is enough for 200 portraits. The rest will be delivered gradually, and Yun thanks him for his cooperation. Yun says he wants to discuss one more thing outside of his official duties, and Zhu reacts with surprise. Old Man Lao voiced a rumor he heard that the prince was planning to unite with Zhu. Yun shows a portrait of her sister and says that she is a young talented woman of 28 years old who can play the piano, chess, and does calligraphy and painting, offering to get acquainted. Zhu is surprised at how cute the girl in the photo is, noting that she is 28 but looks 16. Zhu says directly that he is 16 years old and has no plans to get married yet. Yun asks if Zhu doesn't like older girls, but he replies that it's not that. Zhu explains that the Marquise will never agree to divorce him. Yun notes that young Master Shu is currently weak and without support, but the Yun Chamber of Commerce can change that. An angry Marquise enters the room and demands an explanation. Yun formally greets the Marquise, who looks at him coldly and displeasedly. The Marquise asks sternly what the Yun Chamber of Commerce intends to do. Yun points out that given the current situation of the Marquise's house, it's fair to wonder whether it's really still worth holding on to Mr. Shu. The girl thinks about how he dares to say such a thing to her. Yun politely apologizes to the Marquise for his words and asks for forgiveness. The Marquise explains that horses with dragon's blood are difficult to find, and specifies how many such horses can be provided for her 30,000 riders. Yun apologizes that he cannot provide so many horses at the moment. He adds that he recently made a great deal with the Marquise's husband and will be able to provide 30,000 dragon blood horses for the Northern Army within 3 years. Shu notes to himself that Yun plans to exchange 40% of his earnings for horses. The Marquise says that if she is given 100 horses, she will forgive Yun for his words. Yun promises to deliver 100 horses to the northern camp within 3 days and says goodbye. Shu turns to the Marquise in surprise, and she sheepishly says that she asked for another 30,000 dragon blood horses without his consent. She assures that she will find a way to return his money. The girl says that he can take a concubine for himself. The Marquise sheepishly says that he can, but Shu interrupts her, wondering what she means. Yun sits in the carriage and thinks that everything that happened may have been planned in advance. The driver asks Yun if it is unreasonable to try to win over Marquise Genbei to his side, given her reputation. Yun explains that 40% of the profits were used for the deal to purchase 30,000 dragon blood horses, which would greatly strengthen the Marquise's army. Yun notes that after this deal, the Marquise's army will become dependent on the Yun Chamber of Commerce, and the imperial court will begin to rely more on the Huangfu clan. The driver asks why Yun had not paid attention to the Huangfu clan and their influence before. Yun replies that with the arrival of Lord Zhu, the Huangfu clan began to flourish and become one of the best. The driver marvels at Mr. Shu's talent, to which Yun remarks with a smile that he will probably surprise him even more in the future. Yun reflects that although the Huangfu family has proven its loyalty and shed blood in wars for 3 generations, without his participation, it would have fallen into decline. The scene ends with the image of Shu looking into the distance from behind, emphasizing his importance to the clan. Young Master Shu admires his fairness, but Yun sarcastically asks what fairness he is talking about, mentioning the Huangfu family. In Prince Zhao Yu's courtyard, a comical scene is played out in which one character is frightened by an insect that has landed on the wall, causing another to ridicule him. Yun reports that 100 dragon blood horses have been sent to the Genbei military camp, adding that the Chamber of Commerce plans to contact the Huangfu family. A character with long hair is contemplating the merger of 2 powerful families, the Huangfu and the Yun Chamber of Commerce. The man in the straw hat notes that the more these 2 families cooperate, the more the emperor fears them. Another man claims that if the emperor had been truly afraid, both families would have been destroyed long ago. The men discuss how Yun Shu's moves strengthen the clans, protect the army, and guarantee profits. Yun declares that the young leaders, including Shu and Prince Tianyu, will stage a coup in the capital. Set against a mystical backdrop, the story depicts 3 princes in a complex struggle for the throne, with each side trying to establish their own rules. One of them realizes the need for a force capable of upsetting the balance between the parties, otherwise there will be no chance of success. The character with the eye patch says he understands and is looking forward to tomorrow's party. At the Marquise's house, Shu wonders if he really should attend tomorrow's event. The Marquise explains that at first his presence was not necessary, but because of a letter from the emperor and other influential people of the capital, his presence became obligatory. Shu is surprised that not only the emperor, but also other high-ranking officials want to see him, to which the Marquise reveals the plan to meet at a festive banquet. Shu admits that he is so tired that he is unable to maintain a conversation with these people. The Marquise consoles him, saying that if he feels bad, he doesn't have to go, and no one will judge him. Ixu raises the issue of the need for a reliable team to run his business. The Marquise recommends temporarily trusting the soldiers in the house, but suggests waiting for the grandfather's return for reliable guidance. Zhu responds by hinting that the soldiers are not quite suited for the job, adding that they are a little out of shape. The Marquise reports that there are many wounded and disabled in the Genbei army, which underlines the dire situation of her troops. The girl expresses regret about the lack of trust in the Northern Army and the problems with providing for wounded soldiers. A table of dishes is shown as she reflects on the low wages of the military and their difficulties in finding employment. The young man with a determined look asserts that the soldiers deserve trust and hope. The young man declares that he intends to hire soldiers and pay them more to improve their situation. A girl with blue hair sits with a plush toy in her arms and expresses a desire to help the main character in his business. The same girl sadly confesses her feelings, saying how much she misses him. An adult woman comes to the door of her room, scolding her for ignoring calls for the sake of an important person. The girl explains to her mother that she went too far last time and everyone needs to calm down. The mother carefully combs her hair, saying that her mother knows her opinion, but he still considers his daughter a child. The blue-haired girl asks her mother to give Shu Fei some time so that he can prove himself. Her mother, braiding her hair, reminds her of the family dinner at her grandfather's on Friday evening. She insists that her daughter must appear before her grandfather, as she is the heir to the Sia family. The girl objects, reminding him that her grandfather allowed her to focus on her studies and not go to family dinners. Her mother convinces her to come for them, and her grandfather, since many of their friends will be there. The daughter reluctantly agrees to come to dinner. Meanwhile, in the Marquise's house, a young man and a girl with red hair are lying in the same bed, although they are not yet married. The girl with red hair says that this is not the first time. She leans towards him and asks why he has become so squeamish. Lying in bed next to him, she asks him only not to harm Fuanfu's family. The young man, lying in bed with the girl with red hair, promises to help her family and admits that before coming here, he had a lover. The girl with red hair suddenly throws the young man onto the bed, not letting him finish. She kisses him passionately, holding him close. After the kiss, the girl declares that this is her answer, and she is ready to tolerate it if he likes others, and even allows him to take a concubine. She turns away under the covers, claiming that he belongs to her, and they will not get divorced. The girl threatens him that if he talks about breaking up again, she will do something to him. The boy asks with a smile who taught her this, and she sheepishly agrees when he says that she will suffer if she kills him. The next morning, the young man sees the girl, training with a spear in the yard, and she calls him over. She notes that his breathing has become long and continuous, and asks if he has already entered the initial stage of hardening his body. The young man confirms, explaining that he received the pill as a gift from Prince Zhao Yu. The red-haired girl calmly says that she will return the pill to Prince Zhao if he wants it. The young man thoughtfully says that this is good, but he cannot understand the prince. The girl, in the arms of the young man, explains that he is the only prince who returned to the capital after the uprising. It tells the story of Prince Zhao, whose grandfather the king was executed for rebellion, and he himself was saved and sent into exile. The young man asks in surprise why the prince was returned to the capital despite his grandfather's rebellion. With the night sky as a backdrop, Prince Zhao sits on a rooftop, and it is said that the other princes were afraid of him, but he did everything a prince should not do. After investigation, it was found that Prince Zhao was not influential, did not have any friendship with important people, and did not do anything in secret. While the young man is wondering why the prince gave him the pill, the girl grabs his hand and promises not to let anyone hurt him. A girl with red hair pulls a surprised young man along with her, who asks why she is touching him. She looks at him in amazement, explaining that she wanted to check his muscles and bones after taking the pill. A young man in traditional attire wonders if he could be one of the martial arts geniuses. A young woman in a red robe remarks that the man is overconfident when talking about his physical fitness. The woman warns him that it is too early for him to go into battle and advises him to first learn useful skills to save his life. The man asks how he should train, and the woman suggests filling him with true flame qi and practicing the firefighting song. The woman begins to channel his qi, noting that it will take him several years to master the skill in practice. The woman explains that redirecting his true energy does not harm her, despite the impressive visual effect. The man feels amazing feelings and notices how his body begins to become hotter and comes into contact with powerful energy. The woman says the workout is almost over and invites the man to stand up. A man surrounded by glowing streams of energy wonders if this is truly true qi. They discuss his accomplishments, and she asks him to try breaking a massive stone slab, which surprises him. A woman with red hair teaches a man how to use true qi by gathering it in his palm to strengthen his body and attack the enemy. A young man with a determined look strikes a glowing fist into a stone slab, which cracks from the force of the blow. The man joyfully exclaims that he is not sleeping and was actually able to break such a thick slab with one blow. The woman notes with satisfaction that this is not bad, but he will still have to practice a lot. The man asks Shannon what she can do, mentioning that her martial arts skills are considered some of the best in the world. The woman looks thoughtful as she ponders how she can describe her abilities. The woman demonstrates her power by lifting stones into the air with true qi, while the man watches in amazement at this powerful and overwhelming flow of energy. Surrounded by lightning, the woman explains that she did not train specifically, but that her strength is the result of battles, and that her martial arts realm is called holy. The man watches in shock as the rocks shatter from her strength, and realizes that she truly is one of the top 3 in the world. The man watches in amazement as the rocks crumble to dust from her incredible power. A smiling woman with red hair turns around and suggests that they go get something to eat. The man in blue clothes looks confused as he thinks that he didn't know about her power when he talked about divorce. Prince Zhao Zhen sits on the throne and reflects on his father's distrust of him, who, 8 years later, still does not trust him. An elderly advisor in a blue cap warns Your Majesty against being too kind to the King of War on the border. The same advisor angrily states that it is the fault of the Huangfu family for not surrendering to Your Highness. The silver-haired Eastern Palace official, Zhou Qingyun, suddenly appears and claims that the Huangfu family is not at fault, surprising the prince and the advisor. Zhou Qingyun explains that the Zhengbei army without the Huangfu family is just scattered sand, and therefore they could not be chosen as a target. He insists that the prince must capture the Huangfu family, but Qingyun counters that if the War King rebels, it is this family that will protect His Majesty. Prince Zhaozhen, with his eyes closed, asks to think again. In the imperial chamber, General Zhu Shiqin proposes to reward the Huangfu family with the title of prince for defeating the northern barbarians, but Prime Minister Wu Mobai objects, offering rewards in money or marriage. A white-haired general in a red cloak angrily reproaches the Prime Minister for putting pressure on the Huangfu family, who have protected their land for 3 generations. Emperor Zhao Henyan of Liang, dressed in yellow robes, notes with annoyance that his advisors are arguing over the reward of the Marquis of Zhengbei. The emperor, with the diamond-shaped mark on his forehead, thoughtfully says that they are both right. The emperor offers to reward Marquise Zhengbei by getting her husband a job in the Ministry of Finance, since he is a good businessman. The general is indignant that the marquise's husband should be rewarded without merit, while the prime minister praises the emperor's wisdom. The emperor announces that the issue of the Huangfu family's reward has been decided and dismisses his advisors. The emperor turns to an invisible interlocutor named Zhao Feng and asks if he saw it. Zhao Feng, a man in purple robes with his face covered, replies that the Huangfu family is on a knife edge and its decline is inevitable. The emperor, looking away, asks if Zhao Feng knows which of the 2 advisors is actually doing his best for the Huangfu family. Zhao Feng replies that Prime Minister Wu Mobai does not care about the Huangfu family, since his mind is focused on the welfare of the people. The emperor, with a red crystal on his forehead, calmly reports that he is satisfied with his subject's success on his recent journey. In a camp in southern Xinjiang, a soldier kneels down and reports that the Zhengbei army will have a holiday tomorrow. The southern country's war king, Toba Chang, orders his entourage to prepare and subjugate the Huangfu family immediately after the celebration. Xu Fei, at the residence of the Marquis of Zhengbei, unrolls the scroll in astonishment upon learning of the imperial decree. A shocked Xu Fei asks Shannon why he was appointed Minister of Internal Affairs, and she explains that it is to benefit the Huangfu family's current situation. Imagining himself to be a sad official, Xu Fei complains that he will have to raise money for the army and participate in peace negotiations. In Shannon's dreams, Xu Fei appears as a brilliant minister who can do whatever he wants if he achieves merit. Putting the scroll on the table, Xu Fei assumes that he received the high position thanks to his own achievements, although he could have been given the title of prince. Shannon assures that all his achievements are attributed to the Huangfu family and orders him to rest before tomorrow's feast, to which the emperor will certainly invite him. At night, in the royal palace, dancers in scarlet robes perform a dazzling dance against the backdrop of luxurious pavilions. During the feast, the courtiers laugh loudly, and a worried young man asks Shannon to stop serving him food, feeling the eyes of the audience on him. Slightly embarrassed, Shannon explains to her husband that they are being watched because she is the famous Marquise of Zhengbei in the capital, even though in front of him she is only a caring wife. The irritated pink-haired dignitary is indignant that Shannon is so respectful to an ordinary youth. His cold-blooded companion advises his brother to stay away from the Huangfu family and reminds him of Mr. Xue's virtues. Smiling, the advisor assures his brother that he will heed the warning, then exchanges thoughtful glances with the silent warrior in the yellow mask. The emperor, sitting on his throne, kindly invites Shannon to come and drink with him. Shannon, with her hands folded in a welcoming gesture, humbly responds to the emperor. 2 courtiers are amazed by the indestructible glory of the victorious Marquise Zhengbei. The same officials are amazed that she is allowed to take a place next to the emperor himself. At the evening table, the emperor jokingly asks if Shannon is angry because she is sitting separately from her husband, and she respectfully denies it. The emperor admits that upon his return, he became interested in what kind of man the strongest warrior Shannon could love. Shannon, with tenderness and confidence in her gaze, declares that she believes in her chosen one and will never leave him. The pink-haired dignitary turns to the young master Xue and offers him a drink so that he can show him his wonderful creations. The pink-haired prince solemnly raises a toast to Xu Fei. After thanking the prince, Xu Fei listens to his question about where he got the divine item sold at the Wangfu House auction. Xu Fei flinches in surprise, and the prince's brother reproachfully remarks that the question sounded too harsh. The advisor with the fan gently reproaches the prince for his rudeness, explaining that divine items are the basis of Lord Jude's power, and it is impolite to ask about them. The prince asks his brother with a grin if he has forgotten his recent words, despite his harshness. The advisor, looking at his brother, replies that he remembered everything, and rhetorically asks if he has forgotten about his good memory. The Minister of War and the Minister of Household quietly discuss that the prince has misunderstood his majesty, since the mystery of the origin of Lord Zhu's items worries them all. The young man wonders in bewilderment why all the fuss at the festive dinner is happening around him, and the warrior in the mask is staring at him. Two courtiers whisper about the mysteriousness of the Huangfu family's husband, and the marquise reflects that the presence of an unknown person in the imperial court is a big problem. Shannon turns sharply to the emperor and asks in bewilderment what he is talking about. The marquise, apologizing, tells his majesty that she may seem impolite, but he reassures her, reminding her that this is her holiday. After thanking his majesty, Shannon turns away with a determined and angry look. Two elderly dignitaries listen as someone off-camera offers them an explanation if one is needed. Shannon loudly declares that her husband has lost his memory and does not know where he comes from, remembering only how to create objects that everyone calls divine. The elderly advisor asks in shock about her memory loss, and Shannon angrily accuses him of doubting her words and indirectly calling her a liar in front of the emperor. Shannon, in a rage, towers over the prostrate dignitary and menacingly asks how he dares to interrogate her husband at her celebration. The emperor proclaims his trust in Marquise Zhenbei and Minister Xu Fei, ending any discussion, and the courtiers unanimously praise his wisdom. The emperor announces to the highest dignitary that he sees love in Shannon's eyes and personally gives permission for her marriage to Xu Foyu, which is arranged by the imperial family. The emperor firmly declares that he will not accept any objections, since he raised Shannon as his own child. The courtiers note the great kindness of His Majesty to the Huangfu family, thanks to which any ill-wisher of the marquise will now think hard. After the festivities, a horse-drawn carriage accompanied by servants drives along the night streets of the capital. Commander Li Liang, wearing a red mask, orders his masked men to follow the Huangfu family's carriage and carry out the order. In the carriage, the young man asks Shannon why she took all the pressure on herself at the holiday party when she knows he doesn't have amnesia. Shannon smiles and replies that she has made mistakes many times before, but she will always believe him. She lists all his merits, but admits that she still does not know who he is and where he came from. Suddenly, an enemy arrow pierces the wall of the carriage, and the young man, covering Shannon with his body, interrupts his story. The young man, with the arrow intercepted in his teeth, tells Shannon that the enemies have come for him and gets out of the carriage, and the leader of the attackers calls on the brothers to put an end to the life of Huangfu Shannon. Shannon on the roof of the carriage gives the order to Huang Qi to protect Xu Fei, and the sword warrior rushes forward. The hooded attacker quickly attacks Shannon with dual blades, and she coldly deflects the blow with an arrow. After the reflected blow, Shannon releases an energy projectile that crashes down on the enemy. One of the attackers falls to the ground, screaming from the marquise's powerful final blow. Shannon mockingly remarks to the arrogant opponent that he is planning to kill her. What a joke. A masked warrior with a shining sword appears in the battle and orders his men to retreat, promising to take care of the Marquis. Shannon accuses the mask of betrayal, reminding him that he had been ambushing her and that if it weren't for her husband, she would have died. The mask screams in anger about the impossibility of escape and deals a crushing slash with his sword. The masked warrior declares his intention to personally kill Shannon and creates a lightning-fast energy barrier around himself. Shannon rises into the air and unleashes a whirlwind of blades at the attacker, repelling the final attack. The masked ninjas admire the power of the commander and Huang Qi, and the cloaked warrior rushes forward. One of the attackers commands to catch the dragon halberd, and Shannon catches it with his shaft. The marquise floats in the air, surrounded by sparkling energy, with a belted halberd in her hands. Shannon asks the mask defiantly if he thinks she has escaped and develops a whirlwind attack. The masked warrior hides behind a shield, and Huang Qi fights in mid-air, pursuing him along the rooftops. Huang Qi fights off 3 ninjas at once, and they complain about the small number of enemies and underestimating his strength. The warrior loudly declares that he will not let anyone pass, and will not allow the marquise to be kidnapped. The attackers are horrified to recognize his high level of cultivation, and suggest killing Huang Qi first. Huang Qi mentally notes that Xu Fei was attacked first, not the Marquise. Shannon roars and dives down with all his might in a swift leap to strike the camouflaged enemy with his halberd. Shannon unleashes a furious swing of his halberd on Li Yang's defense, sending lightning bolts piercing through and splitting the tiles beneath his opponent's feet. Jumping aside, Shannon defiantly asks Li Yang what else he is hiding. The Marquise once again directs her halberd to attack, and her sacred energy breaks through the enemy's defense. Li Yang tries to parry her blow, but Shannon points out his illusion of equality, reminding him of the real gap in their power. Shannon mentions Li Yang's name as the commander of the enemy forces, and mentions that behind him stands the military leader, Sword King, the second most powerful man in the world. The girl makes a fiery strike with her sword, sending up tongues of flame. Shannon attacks with a circular swing of his halberd, knocking Li Yang off balance. Will he have the courage to fight her to the death? Falling to his knees, Li Yang reveals that an attempt has been made on Xu Fei's life, shocking the girl. The soldier reports that nothing is known about the fate of his life yet. An unknown voice states that the assassination attempt was carried out by Tuoba Zhang, but Mr. Sui is not easy to kill, especially when the War King gets his way. Huang Qi reports to the lady that he was able to protect Xu Fei in the midst of the broken carriage. Huang Qi and Xu Fei simultaneously shout Shannon's name, trying to find her. Xu Fei wakes up in his dorm room and with tears of joy, realizes that he has been blessed with the opportunity to recover from mortal danger. Xu Fei asks his friend if he has returned from his girlfriend. A friend reports that the girl said she missed Xu Fei while showing a strange anthropomorphic creature. Xu Fei asks if his friend brought any goods this time, and they start discussing the food and laughing. A friend asks Xu Fei to check the balance on his card, assuring him that after eating and checking, he will realize that this is not a dream. Xu Fei warns his friend not to worry about the products, promising that the speed of wealth accumulation will exceed all expectations, and they will no longer talk about cosmetics. Xu Fei answers a call from Chu Qian and learns about a celebratory dinner his mother invited him to, mentioning cosmetics. Xu Fei ends the phone call with her brother by mentioning her mother and promising to talk later, also noting that her sister is working hard at her studies, and they will still have the opportunity to be together. A friend urges him to hang up quickly for his sister's sake, warning him that he must not go through such dangerous things again as he did today. A friend inquires about the state of Xu Fei's eyesight, who responds with surprise, and then accurately remarks that he can see perfectly well without glasses. Xu Fei muses that if he were a normal person, he would die today, and wonders how Shannon is doing now. Chu Chen loudly exclaims that she has finally found the two of them. Chu Chen shouts indignantly why the two of them aren't answering their calls while the friends look surprised. A friend apologetically explains that their cell phones are on silent mode. Xu Fei said that he heard that Sister Chu was going to the festival. Chu Chen shouts that she didn't just mean that, and asks if he knows that Chu Chen is engaged to Gao Yan. An elegant girl with blue hair and a black dress appears, while the question of Chu Qian's engagement to Gao Yang hangs in the air, and men in suits can be seen in the background. In the luxurious hall, the guests admire the beauty of the Xia family's daughter, celebrating the incredible union of the Gao and Xia families. Chu tries to ask about the upcoming dinner, wondering why they have to go out like this. The woman replies that it is because Chu is the queen of the party, to which she exclaims in surprise, looking at the flashing red silhouette. Gao Yang, in a white suit, says that he has been waiting for her to appear for a long time. The guests at the party discuss how good the couple looks together and note that all the influential people of the city have gathered. Chu Chen lowers her head in embarrassment when her sister says she did it for her. The blue-haired girl gives a cold look, asking if anyone thinks she will comply. The girl states that she cares about the opinions of others, and she simply pretends that they are together, inviting only the nobles and their children. The man with golden eyes confidently says that although she cannot be convinced, he can do it. Xu Fei suddenly rushes out, explaining that he must hurry to find his sister Chu, while the others shout after him. The red-haired guy hurriedly tells the others to run faster, realizing that the situation is not easy to control. A group of people in black suits discuss the need to quickly pick someone up, and a white-haired girl looks on with disdain. A man threatens a white-haired girl, hinting that her family is her weakness, and promises to pester her boyfriend. He says that when they get married and have a child, she will have to transfer the company shares to her child in order to maintain the opportunity to be with her loved one. The red-haired guy, in desperation, runs into the security guards and decides to hold them off so the others can get away. The girl in the vest offers to help the guy, and he shouts at her to take Fei and leave. A fight starts between a girl and a guy. She threatens to hit him, and he insists that she leave. The guy with blue hair tries to calm down the arguing people, telling them to calm down. The girl and the boy angrily yell at the blue-haired man to shut up and leave. The yellow-haired guard deals a crushing blow to the red-haired guy. The blue guy with red eyes grabs the attacker's arm, protecting his red-haired friend, and everyone is shocked. The red-haired man and the girl look at Shu Fei in surprise, and he mysteriously says that he will tell you everything later. Someone decides that now they need to get to their sister, and another guy offers mutual help. The girl with blue hair thinks about the fairy and hears from her companion that if she behaves well, the engagement banquet will end faster. Guests are welcomed to the party, apologizing for the slight delay and announcing the start of the celebration. Suddenly, there is an explosion, and someone asks if the groom is worthy of this girl. A dark-haired guy with red eyes appears among the rubble and apologizes for being late. A girl and a boy rush along the night street, discussing what happened and marveling at Shu Fei's fighting skills. On the road, among the fallen gods, the couple realizes that they need to leave quickly. In the hall, the hero with red eyes meets the enemy's gaze, astonished by his unexpected appearance and strength. Shu Fei hugs the blue-haired girl, and she tearfully admits that she believed in his well-being. Shu Fei tells her sister that she is angry because she is engaged to a scoundrel, and someone is surprised at what is happening. A man with long blonde hair shouts to get rid of Shu Fei, while Fei ignores him and continues to protect the girl. An old man enters with a team of guards and asks a stern question. Who dared to disturb the order? One of the men, in a panic, asks his father why he came and asks for permission to explain the situation. The old man sharply replies to his son that he did not believe in a possible alliance with the Gao family, and that because of him and his wife, he could lose his company. The old man states that this is the first time he has seen his granddaughter in such a state, and complains that he cannot retire because of their actions, blaming his son for forcing his granddaughter to get engaged to Gao. The old man blames his son and daughter-in-law for the problems, and says that Chu Qian is suffering because of them. He shouts and uses a stick to accuse his son of lying and attacks him, calling him a lying moron. An old man with a stern face and in a dark suit demands to know what he did. The blue-haired woman tells the old man that she did it for Chu Qian's sake, and he, leaning on his cane, declares that he only leaves her alone because she is his mother. The old man tells the frightened woman that she and her husband will no longer be managing the company or holding a stake in it. The old man comes face to face with a stunned man in a light suit and an expression of horror. The man internally admits that he cannot move, feeling the invisible pressure and grandeur from the old man and the creator of the Sire Corporation. An old man calls someone useless and asks another man if he really wants to marry his granddaughter, inviting Andrew to tell his version. The man with the monocle confirms his willingness to tell, and the boy and another character recognize the company's famous lawyer. The blue-haired girl looks at Gao Yang. The lawyer asks everyone to listen to the audio recording first, causing the enemy to become alarmed. On the recording, Gao Yang's voice admits to blackmailing Chu Qian and intending to gain control of the company's shares through marriage and a child. The lawyer announces to everyone present that everything is now clear. Gao Yang was blackmailing Chu Qian and the others. The guests are outraged by Gao Yang's meanness, calling what happened a crime and discussing how they did not expect this from the Gao family. The lawyer with the mustache claims that Gao Yang threatened his client, and now he will defend her. The officer informs Gao Yang that he has engaged in physical intimidation and announces his arrest. The police say they are taking Gao Yang to testify, and he is shocked to think about the failure of his plan. Gao Yang screams for Chu Qian, full of despair. Gao Yang, who has lost his composure, accuses Chu Qian and Shu Fei of collusion and claims that the recording was faked. The girl says that she acted for the sake of the Gao family, and Shu Fei notes that these people have been in cahoots for a long time. One of the guests comments that the loser, by making excuses, only makes his situation worse. The guy in the black suit asks Gao Yang with displeasure if he will continue to disgrace his family and calls him trash. He accuses his brother of disgracing the family, despite the pleas of the woman defending him. He then remarks that his brother is old enough to bear the consequences himself, and reminds him of his father's anger when he soon finds out. The brother watches them leave and says that he hopes the younger scum will think carefully about his actions, and the girl with blue hair notes that it's good that she won't see him again. The elder brother says that the law will punish Gao Yang and apologizes for his father's poor upbringing of his brother, admitting that he does not have time to personally make amends. The old man promises to forget the incident, but warns not to blame him for the consequences if something similar happens again. The company, including an old man with a cane, stands in the hall, and someone assures that this will not happen again. The dark-haired guy notices that after a few years, the girl has become even more beautiful, and adds that his brother crossed her path and will be held accountable for it. The guy states that she no longer has a fiancé and adds that he has no desire, like his loser brother, to marry such a monster. The girl indignantly asks who he called a monster, and Shufei demands that he immediately apologize to his sister. The guy notes that Shufei is not bad for an exalted martial artist, considering his level. He mockingly asks about the mentioned power and title of martial artist. The man in the suit admits that Shufei seemed like an ordinary guy at first glance, announces his departure with his mother, and mentally notes his status as an exalted martial artist. The lady notes the need to ask Shannon about the ascended martial artist. The old man turned to Shufei and said that he liked him, but that he was no different from Gao Yang. The old man, leaning on his cane, declares that he has something to say and does not intend to stay here long. The old man announces that his granddaughter Chu Qian has been dating Shufei for a long time, and it's time for them to get engaged, and the scene changes to a night city with a full moon. Shufei screams in horror at the old man who demands a guarantee of engagement in front of the entire family. Shufei swears to his grandfather that he will not disappoint Chu Qian and will always protect her, which leaves the old man perplexed. The old man admits that he does not understand what his granddaughter sees in Shufei, and Chu Qian exclaims for him to stop tormenting him. The old man offers Chu Qian a ride in his wheelchair, and the guards are shocked by the sudden change in his mood. The old man chuckles when he sees Shufei's strange smile, and Shufei sarcastically remarks that he talks too much. An unknown voice predicts that the couple will soon have many children, and Chu Qian and Shufei react to these words in amazement. An elderly man in a suit is indignant and demands to be heard. The man makes a request and voices the condition of an heir with the surname Xia to manage the corporation, addressing the young people. The young man is silent at first and clenches his fist, then says that he understands and promises to fulfill the condition. The older man breathes a sigh of relief, then orders the other two to go serve the guests, while urging the younger man not to interfere. The hero tells the couple that the main thing is that they understand his power, and he himself notes that family is the most important thing, after which the older man approves of his understanding. The car quickly rushes through the tunnel, and a question about returning and a confession that Chu Qian really likes the hero are heard in the background. The girl angrily curses and calls someone a bastard, surprised at her disappointment. The guy laughs, commenting that the girl eats a lot when she is angry, and she indignantly asks him to leave her alone. A young man with brown hair asks if they will be attacked now. The girl smiles and says that she has found security that will protect them, adding that now no one will be able to harm them, even without Shufei. The young man reasons that the Gao family will no longer be able to get away with it, and admits that their main enemies are now the Gao family. A man with black hair tells an older family member that his younger brother will be going to prison for a while. The older man says indifferently that there is no need to plead for his younger brother to be released. The man in the suit begins a frank conversation about the reasons for the meeting, suspecting that the matter may not only be about his brother. He says that now that the youngest is gone, the matter with the Xia family can be resolved, but the old man from the Xia family is still alive. His interlocutor is convinced that confronting the old man is like hitting a stone with an egg, and asks the reason for his fears. He reminds that the old man has a granddaughter, and states that her strength and influence are entirely dependent on her grandfather, thanks to whom their company became powerful. The young man thinks that the old man will soon die, and suggests capturing the girl. At this time, some influence on the father begins. Energy begins to surround him. The father allows his son to act against the Xia family, but warns him that he and his brother will bear the consequences. The friends clink glasses, and the girl is delightedly surprised at how quickly the engagement took place. Looking at the glass, the interlocutor admits that at first she thought Chu Qian was crazy, but now she is amazed by their fateful union. At the party, Chu Qian, having drunk too much, spews a rainbow stream. Shufei bleeds from her nose and confesses her love, causing chaos around. An elderly man in a chair grumbles at the hot-tempered youth and asks if they have seen the letter. In the office, a hooded man asks his grey-haired interlocutor if the young man is really a martial arts master. The elder confirms the purity of the young man and emphasizes the unusualness of his opponent's granddaughter. The grandfather, looking at the swirls in the cup, notices that the young man is secretive and that his skill became known only thanks to his granddaughter. While jokingly suggesting that they open a tea shop, the sage suggests that the couple's child may inherit the innate abilities of a martial artist. Concluding the conversation, the old man assures that there is no catch in this young man. The old man with the grey beard sighs and says that we need to continue to keep an eye on the Gao family. The wise old man in the robe smiles approvingly and asks his interlocutor to take care of his granddaughter and the young man. Enveloped in flames, the old man turns his back and announces that he is leaving. The bearded man in the semi-darkness decisively says that the time has come to warn them. After saying goodbye, he sighs and thinks that he has little time left, since he is already too old for all this.